No, hold on. I'm sorry. The statement you just made was so retarded.
I'm upset that 3 to 16 million people are dead. No, Dusty, shut the fuck up.
What do you want, Connor? What now?
I want lots of things, man.
Okay, well, I bet you don't have an AI George Washington to talk to on your podcast. Like
I don't, but I did understand that you were talking about LLMs almost immediately. Are you talking to an AI George Washington right now, or are you watching somebody else do it?
No, Glenn Beck was.
Oh, what a fucking dumbass. I hate that guy so fucking much.
True. Are you anti-air?
Yeah. Well, I got content.
No,
do you want me to call back later? Or what?
No, content me up, baby. What do you got?
Okay.
Wait, is it going to trigger me?
So, number one, you ignoring the Epstein Intel ties. What's up with that?
Oh, Jesus.
What am I ignoring?
I mean, the video that I sent you from Chris Cappy, a trusted friend of the channel.
Why the CIA needed Jeffrey Epstein. What's the information in it? Or what about it?
I'll try to be as brief as possible.
Go.
So, Jeffrey Epstein he was basically the mentee of a British arms manufacturer. He started selling weapons to...
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Mentee?
Mentee, the opposite of a mentor.
Okay. Of a British arms manufacturer. Gotcha. Okay.
So he was a mentee to a British arms manufacturer. He helped put together a $1 billion deal in Saudi Arabia in order to sell fighter jets to Saudi Arabia during the 1980s and 1990s. The Saudi kings and princes were used to getting whores and booze and drugs and parties. And so Jeffrey Epstein was a facilitator of the whores and drugs and booze and parties in order to paper over the deals, and this is a documented phenomena. Then, he, through his deals with Saudi Arabia, he met Adnan Khashoggi. You remember that journalist who got chopped up in the Saudi embassy a few years ago?
Yep.
This is this guy's uncle.
Oh, okay.
So, Adnan Khashoggi was a arms dealer in the Middle East and North Africa. Okay, we'll fight about the Hutch thing later. Stop bitching, chat. Sorry, my chat's bitching. Stop bitching!
What are they bitching about?
We're going to talk about interesting shit first. God damn.
Is it your chat or is it the Queeman Logistical Infiltrators?
It's my chat. My chat's bitching because they want me to fight you about Hutchinson, but I wanted to get through the Epstein stuff first.
Okay.
So, anyways, Adnan Khashoggi is an arms dealer. He deals in the Middle East and North Africa. He's a part of the Iran-Contra affair, where Reagan and Oliver North take weapons, they sanction bust, they sell weapons. They travel to Israel because you can't fly directly to Iran. Jeffrey Epstein facilitates this with Adnan Khashoggi, and they sell the weapons to Iran. They take the cash. They put it in a black ops slush fund that then runs guns and drugs in Central and South America for counter communist operations in Central and South America.
Okay.
Then Jeffrey Epstein, well, that's actually really important, but I want to add something else about Adnan Khashoggi. He also facilitated deals, and there's a picture of him facilitating arms deals in West and South Africa as well, via something called the Safari Club, which was a financial and arms trafficking export group that Adnan Khashoggi was a part of.
Okay.
So then, Jeffrey Epstein takes the fleet of vehicles that was under a CIA front. I think it was called like Southern Air Transport. They were the ones who were flying guns down to the Contras during the Iran-Contra affair.
Wait, can I ask a quick question about that? It's kind of a...
Yep.
Did anybody ever get in trouble for the Iran-Contra? It seemed like some bad stuff, but I feel like nobody... Did they?
So Oliver North, I think Oliver North got pardoned, but there were hearings in Congress for like 6 months because the entire operation was like black ops illegal shit that the Reagan administration did an explicit violation of a congressional prohibition.
Yeah, okay. I just seemed weird that because I feel like I don't remember like a lot of negative shit from that, but okay, based. All right, go ahead.
Well, basically, like the Republicans argued that Oliver North was an American patriot because he just dutifully carried out the orders of President Reagan, and then President Reagan said, "He who saves his country from communism commits no crime."
Damn. Okay, super based. All right.
Yeah. So in the wake of the Iran-Contra affair being exposed, he sells the fleet of vehicles to Leslie Wexner. And Leslie Wexner is the head of Bed Bath & Beyond, Victoria's Secret, and one other brand.
Okay.
That is very popular in the United States.
Am I supposed to guess?
Tracking?
And one other brand.
Palantir.
Wait, what's...
Yeah, it might be Guess. It might unironically be Guess or Gap or some shit like that. I don't remember.
Oh.
But anyways, Leslie Wexner uses the former CIA airplanes to start mass importing cheap Chinese goods into the United States for his fashion empire. But also there's allegations that Leslie Wexner was not only aware of Jeffrey Epstein's proclivities, but effectively allowed the airline to be used to recruit and transport underage models for Jeffrey Epstein's sexual proclivities.
Okay. Not good.
Okay. And Leslie Wexner was listed as a co-conspirator in the Epstein files.
Okay.
Okay. So then we get into the 80s, 90s,
Wait.
1000s, Jeffrey Epstein.
Leslie Wexner, co-conspirator? Like he was like an unindicted or an indicted co-conspirator?
Unindicted co-conspirator.
Okay, gotcha.
Now, Leslie Wexner also has intel ties because he's a part of a public pro-Zionist group that also is best friends with Ehud Barak, the former commando and defense minister of Israel.
Okay.
Okay. So, Jeffrey Epstein keeps molesting teenagers aged 13, I think as young as 9, allegedly, but confirmed like people who have sworn written affidavits that they were raped by Jeffrey Epstein or his friends. 13 to 17. There's plenty of people in that age bracket who say they were raped and trafficked in this circle. But through the 80s, 90s, and early thousands, Jeffrey Epstein is doing this with the knowledge of pretty much everybody around him, but nobody really fucks with him. And then in the 2000s, Alex Acosta from the Southern District of Florida.
When you say nobody fucks with him, you mean that as in like nobody messes him, nobody does anything to stop him, but they are all fucking with him, like slang-wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Nobody is trying to stop him recruiting underage models.
Gotcha.
And having sex with them.
Okay.
Then, in the thousands, he obviously gets jammed up by Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. The feds take over the investigation, including Alex Acosta. He goes from being charged with, I don't know, like 40, I think there were like 40 sworn written victim statements of the sex abuse that they suffered under the hands of Jeffrey Epstein.
Okay.
Those were sealed as a part of the plea agreement. And then Alex Acosta negotiated what looked like decades of potential prison time down to a year and a half of work release, slap on the wrist prison for soliciting sex from a 17-year-old prostitute.
Okay.
So why, considering that anybody who wasn't politically, financially, intel connected would be looking at a major public scandal and then decades in prison, why is it illogical? Why is it non-valid to believe that the federal government swept up a sex trafficking ring?
I guess assuming everything you said was true and all the things are and the crimes that are alleged are true and they knew about it, then I guess they would have been, right?
Okay, cool.
Okay.
I mean, that's the entirety of my argumentation. So even if you don't agree it's sound, or if you poke holes in the underlying evidence, as long as you're saying that if the underlying facts are true and not just mere allegations, it would be valid to infer this line of whatever, then I don't think I have a beef.
Okay.
Okay, moving on from the pedophilia.
Gotcha.
National identity and continuous cultural identity in reference to immigration with Mr. Kissen.
Okay.
I thought you were kind of being obtuse in the first section, and it frustrated me. So what do you think is American national identity? What is the through line between all of the people
I'll talk about this when I go
nation?
over the debate later, because I understand that some people are upset because they feel like I was being obtuse or whatever. The point is not whether or not I'm obtuse, and the point, this is the thing I'm going to try to illustrate over the next few months or whatever, or harp on more. It's not that I don't think that these things exist or that you can't talk about them, but I'm merely demonstrating that the other person is not willing to or is not capable of talking about them. Like I think there are through lines to American identity or British identity or whatever identity. I think there are all sorts of identities we can talk about, but the other person hasn't put any time or effort into thinking about it at all, And then, not to trigger anybody, but a lot of it is just racism. And the fact that, in my opinion, that somebody is unwilling or unable to actually like bring up, any examples of. So I think I asked Konstantin, what are some examples of like British culture or identity that have remained constant over the last like 30, 40, 50 years? My guess is there are probably answers to that. I could probably find some for American identity if I thought about it. So I'm sure there are answers to that, but he didn't have any. And that makes me wonder, well, what identity are you seeking to protect? Or what identity are you worried that's being threatened if you don't have an answer to that? That's the only point that I'm making in that conversation. I know that people are thinking that like, oh, you're being obtuse, but like if the person is not capable of engaging even at that level or can't get through that part of the simple conversation because they've never engaged with it before, then I don't want to have the latter conversation. It'll come off as me sounding obtuse, but it's just I just don't think the person is capable or is willing to or able to have that conversation. They can't even lay out that early part. Yeah.
But in Konstantin Kissin's case, I don't think it's racism. You know what I think it is?
Pro-Russianism.
Islamophobia. So,
not
as an Islamophobe,
I don't. So Islamophobia.
That's what he brought up.
I know.
That's what he brought up. Whenever
you
ask for,
I'm aware of this, but it's
whenever you ask for shit. Sorry, real quick. Just let me lay it out.
Okay.
Real briefly. Whenever you brought up what about recent immigrants is incompatible with British identity, he brought up rape gangs, and he brought up, I don't even know if he brought up a jihadist terrorism. He brought up jihadist terrorism and rape gangs. Those were his two examples.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, so it's not racist. He probably doesn't like.
I understand I understand that he brought those up now, but like. In the United Kingdom, there's a lot of, and a lot of Western Europe, there's a lot of like anti-Eastern European feelings as well, like for the
Poles, Latvians, Lithuanians.
Yeah,
they're the Mexicans of Europe.
So the idea, I don't think it's just Islamophobia. Maybe you wouldn't even say just racism. Maybe you could say like it's xenophobia or something else.
Ethnic bigotry.
Yeah. There's a guy around this corner, Moon. I'm hit him once. I don't know where he's at. Oh, twice.
He jumped down.
Well, yeah, but I just don't think that he might have brought up the immigrants are displacing the white working class of Britain. But I would say the major examples that he brought up about cultural incompatibility. Yeah. And he also did talk about like mass immigration. Sorry, go ahead.
Hold on, give me 1 second. Okay, sorry. Okay, I'm here. Okay, so yeah, I was saying there's different types of. Oh, nice. I'm leaving. Wait, I'm leaving. No, I'm not leaving. Go fight. Hit him once, twice, dead. Easy. I think his partner died. Good job. Okay, now I'm here. Ah! Okay, I'll grab like half. You can grab the half. Okay, now I'm here. Okay, xenophobia. You brought up racism, Islamophobic stuff. Yeah, I agree that there's some Islamophobia as well, but
okay. Yeah. So I want to ask you, because I think national conservatism is a philosophy that we're going to be contending with for decades to come.
Okay.
Effectively, that it like quote unquote indigenous, even if they're like multi-ethnic, multi-religious, multi-linguistic societies, there's going to be a bias against recent immigrants, regardless of whether or not they're from Eastern Europe or regardless of whether or not they're Muslim.
Okay.
But I guess my question to you is, it seems like...
Wait, real quick. Just real quick. I probably understand what you mean, but can you tell me, when you say national conservatism, what exactly are you...
So it's a political philosophy that's common in Hungary. I also think that recent speeches from Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance have a lot of national conservative touchstones.
Okay.
It effectively says that the nation is the people of a country. The state advocates in their interest. And if there are demographic or ethnographic or drug or criminal or war threats to those people, it's the state's responsibility to be loyal to its people first.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you look at a lot of rhetoric coming out of Marco Rubio's Munich speech, J.D. Vance whenever he opens his mouth, or a Hungarian politician whenever they open their mouth, it's all national conservative touchstones.
Okay.
So
when you can come down here and pick me up.
Yep, I'm on the way.
I feel like
Also,
I think that
sorry, go ahead.
isn't this kind of the definition of a nation? I guess like the more specific thing is probably like more narrowly defining who the nation is or whatever, right? Or the people of the nation state, what that means.
Well, I agree. Yes, I agree with you. But then here's a question for America, because America is a propositional country. The United States of America is a propositional country where we have like a civic code of ethics that people can subscribe to, which then makes them American. So then my question to you is a Indian American, a guy who was born in Gujarat, but he immigrates, is he a member of the nation of the United States? Is he one of the people?
I mean, insofar as if he has a green card or is a naturalized citizen or whatever, yeah, right?
It's like
Well,
a
I
big
mean, I
tenet
think
of
so.
America,
I'm a civic
right?
nationalist. I'm a paperwork nationalist. So yeah.
Okay.
But the national conservatives, they posit that nations are not born out of subscriptions to vague ideological whatever. They're born out of effectively like familial tribalism that then becomes community tribalism, that then becomes like ethnic tribalism, that then becomes national tribalism. And so their whole argument is they take like a bottom up approach to nationalism, and so as a result, a Indian might immigrate to the UK, and he might even become a British citizen. But if he still identifies with his ethno-linguistic racial group first, outside of his British identity, then he's actually not a part of the nation.
Okay.
Yeah.
I kind of
So-
I'm here on a touchy-feely basis, but I don't know what this grounds out in. But okay, I'm following you.
So yeah, so then it kind of becomes a question of morality. So it sounds like from a liberal worldview, I think you're a liberal. I think you believe in maximal human freedom. You think that from a maximal human freedom standpoint, people should be able to they should be free to travel and integrate into whatever societies best meet their needs, right? And then once they integrate into those societies, they become a part of the nation.
Sure, with the consent of those societies, yeah.
Well, that's actually exactly where I was going. So, do you think that it is immoral, IMMORAL, for Poland or Hungary or other European nation states to say, we do not want other people from other nations coming into our nation state?
I don't think the only hesitancy I give here is I don't know. There's some like fucking UN charter that contradicts that, but assuming there's not, no, I think that a country has a right to control its borders in the way that it sees fit. Yeah, I'm going to broadly say that and assume you're not going to do anything crazy with that, right? Like I wouldn't say, for instance,
I'll try not to. I was just going to try to
Like,
steel man
sure.
Konstantin with it.
Just to say, like, I wouldn't be okay with the country saying we only allow the immigration of women because we want to mass rape them, or we only allow the immigration of black people so we can use them as slaves or something. But that has to do with more domestic policy, really. But for the most part, like, I generally agree.
What if we only allow high-end, high material wealth, high intelligence, Sikhs, Hindus, Eastern Europeans, Christians, agnostics, and atheists, but we discriminate against Muslims?
I mean, I think if a country, there's several different levels to this. So I'll go from the bottom up. So for me, I wouldn't want my country, I think, to have that sort of immigration policy. I think that another country could have that immigration policy, even if I personally maybe wouldn't agree with it. And then obviously you would have to be bound by whatever UN or EU thing that you're a part of. So like the UN, or if you're part of the EU, you might be required to take some number of asylum seekers or something like that, regardless of religion or whatever else. Yeah.
Okay. What I would argue is that the national conservatives in the United States, and actually let's keep it on Kisin for a second. So with Konstantin Kisin, my argument is that he thinks there's not only nothing wrong with a ethno-linguistic religious group advocating its self-interest when it comes to immigration policy, but he would view the neoliberal economic opening of the border to the Middle East and North Africa within the past 50 years, but particularly accelerated in the past 20, he would view that as a bad state of affairs that threatens the national identity of Britain and therefore needs to be at minimum slowed, ideally stopped, at maximum reversed.
Okay. So I just want to say real quick, this is a conversation that I'm having with you, where you are representing to me what you feel like, I guess like a conservative nationalist would think. I don't accept that this is what Konstantin's position is, because if this was, he should have expressed that to me. So fuck him. But I will engage with the conversation. I just want to make that clear real quick.
Sure.
Let me grab Red Bull quick too. Give me like, okay, what do you? Okay, so I understand kind of the position that you've put out. It's still a bit nebulous, and I have reasons to believe why I don't think this is the genuine position of a lot of these other people. But go ahead.
Well, I
Or where
think
do you
it's
want to go from here? Yeah.
I think it's actually a through line for JD Vance, Marco Rubio, and Nick Fuentes. I think this ideology is seizing the right at this point. So the reason why I would say this is because JD Vance, well, hold on, I should start with Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio probably believes that every American of good faith is a member of the national body of the United States. But he did a lot of like what I would consider dog whistling at the Munich speech, where he was talking about how important Christian and Northern European identity was to the relationship between the United States and America. Did you watch that at all?
I believe I did. We watched all of Marco Rubio's thing, right? I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would view that as like a hybridization of the national conservative philosophy, along with like a neoconservative war hawk, pro-liberal democratic perspective. However, I think when I see JD Vance arguing against the immigration of Central and South Americans, he's applying a national conservative lens where he's saying Central and South Americans, because they're Native Americans mixed with Afro-Caribbeans, mixed with Spanish colonizers, they are not a part of the same national identity as Northern Europeans, and therefore they should be, at minimum, no longer allowed to mass immigrate into the United States.
Okay.
Okay. And then with Fuentes, what's interesting about this is because this is a true delineation between like the hardcore national identitarian movements of Fuentes and also the national conservative movements of JD Vance and Marco Rubio, is that Fuentes says our nationality is not, race isn't everything, but it's not nothing. Our true collective tribal identity is Christianity. The Sikhs and the Hindus and all those people, though those are not part of our tribe, which is why we don't want H-1B visas or whatever.
Mhm.
And then they also say that Jews are a co-opting national identity that travels the world in order to manipulate all the states of the world, in order to advocate in the interest of the nation state of Israel. So when you're dealing with a Jewish Zionist who lives in America and is an American citizen, Ben Shapiro can claim to be a United States citizen all he wants. What he truly is a member of the nation state of Israel because he consistently advocates for it, sometimes to the detriment of his host country.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just being descriptive. So I guess right here.
So here, wait.
The reason why I got frustrated.
So this is my.
Sorry, go ahead.
This is my frustration with these types of ideas. Also, wait. I'm sorry. Real quick. Hold on. When I say, I'm gonna say now, and when I say now, I want you to say now at the exact same time when you hear me say now. Okay. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Now.
Now.
Okay. There's a lot of latency between us. I don't know why. It's like 1.5 or 2 seconds. I don't know why. But
do you want me to call back? Hang up, call back?
It's probably not a big deal. I just noticed it. It's just because sometimes we talk over each other, but that's okay. I think the big issue that I have is that I feel like a lot of these topics are interesting. Okay, this is a complaint I've had for years, right? And I'm going to repeat it now. I think there are a lot of topics here that are interesting to chat about that you could really get into, but people are either unwilling, too scared, haven't done the time to actually think them through, or are using them as placeholders for other either more insidious beliefs or beliefs that they feel like aren't publicly palatable. So let me give you an example. When you talk about like a national, like quote unquote ethnic identity or something like that, I think that there are a lot of reasons why in the United States we kind of immediately write off some of these things as legitimate beliefs. So for instance, the first thing is that one, we don't really have, like we have kind of like a weak ethnic identity from our European roots, but like not really, it's not as strong a thing as Americans want it to be, or as whatever far right or neo-Nazi people want it to be, which is why we use such collective words like white and black and brown, as opposed to Europeans that differentiate along national ethnic identities much more granularly. So I think that when people have this conversation, they're not... they're just not engaging with it where they're speaking substantively about any of the underlying things. They're speaking very broadly about the things, and they're not like drawing. Even my answer here feels airy. Like I just don't have anything to work with. Like if somebody were to say, for instance, somebody says, if you lived in a nation of 1 million Americans and 10 million Chinese people wanted to immigrate, would you be okay with that? I would say no. That doesn't feel right to me, right? 10 million people from another country are going to come and overwhelm me 10 to 1. That just feels wrong for a variety of reasons. And if we sit there and think about it, we can probably explore why. Well, I feel like whatever interests I have are going to be completely and totally overwhelmed and dominated by the people coming in. I feel like, like having a single group like that come in, it seems like they're going to turn my country into their country. Basically, as I explore that, I'm going to say a lot of things that sound like what conservatives say when they express issues about, migrants coming from other areas. But then the thing that makes me not believe those arguments as much from an intellectual perspective when it comes from conservatives is that argument that I just gave, would I be okay with 10 million Chinese people coming in if I had a country that was just 1 million people? They'll use this argument to describe an invasion, but then they'll describe all immigrant classes together. And it's like, are you telling me that Mexicans are going to import the same value as Italians, who are going to import the same values as people from Africa, who are going to import the same values as people from Hong Kong? Like, it doesn't make sense to lump all those together if that's a thing that you legitimately care about. And then the most important thing is, I never hear these people identify a core value or thing that they want to protect, which is also like another weird thing.
Yep.
I shouldn't say weird. I should say it makes me suspicious about what their
it's
motivation
nefarious.
is. Yeah. And then on the final point here, and I think I just realized this actually while I was in London that I thought was kind of funny. When conservatives cite changing cities, when they cite like demographic change, they always cite things about the changing demographics of large cities, but conservatives always call out and fucking hate city culture. It's never the culture they want to preserve, which I think is funny too. So anybody that's going to complain about like immigrants coming into this country and changing the culture of the country, they're going to be the first people to say like the major cities are filled with like elites and coastal elites and liberals, and they don't represent like good old, like I guess Britain or good old American country values or whatever, which I think is interesting as well, which just makes me, there's so much ambiguity around everything they say. It makes me doubt the truthfulness of their motivation sometimes. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I think they might not even fully understand their own motivations.
Possibly
so, for instance,
when I say doubt the truth, I don't mean to imply they're lying, but there's something else that's happening. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, part of my frustration with hearing you appealing to the ephemeral nature of culture, part of the reason why I got frustrated with it was because I heard you make the same arguments with Nick and Lauren and Sargon like 5 years ago. Now, maybe it's to their discredit that they haven't come up with coherent argumentation since then. But I think that if you look at the through line of their argumentation, even if they can't identify it, it's probably going to be for most American anti-immigrant people, illegal immigration from Central and South America. And so it's going to be anti-Hispanic. And then if you look at the through line for Europeans, it's largely going to be Middle Eastern and North African. Now, of course, you're right that there is some Eastern European resentment, but I don't hear about the Eastern European resentment anywhere near as much as I hear about resentment from Middle East and North Africa. And so I think it's just conservatives shittily articulating the groups that they do not want to immigrate to their country and fighting against it on some kind of like identitarian principle, which can be Christian, it can be white, it can be linguistic, but it's rarely is it coherent.
Sure, that's fine. But I mean, like I said, like I can have that discussion, and I actually think it's a really fascinating discussion to have. But if the
I was kind of surprised that you said that a nation state should be able to control its own borders, even if they're like a ethno-religiously, linguistically homogenous state. I'm not that surprised, but
Sure.
Obviously, like the lefties are going to hate you because they're going to say you're giving the case for Israel and Poland to discriminate against potential immigrants.
Sure, but I mean, like, the thing that we don't have to consider as Americans is that our stuff is never under threat ever. Like, we always are in the dominant position there because our country is so huge. We have so many fucking people, right? And I think that it's kind of it's a little bit of a position of privilege that we speak from. It's kind of like when I asked Hassan or whatever, I was like, do you think it's unethical for a woman to like call the cops if somebody is like following her, like stalking her on her way home, but it's like a minority and so maybe they'll get deported? Do you think it would be unethical for the woman to call the cops? And Hassan's answer was, well, I wouldn't call the cops. It's like, well, yeah, you're a 6'4" jack dude who probably isn't worried about. Yeah, that's true. Actually, he would definitely call the cops. But like, you're speaking from a position of extreme privilege there. So yeah, like in the U.S., we'll say things like, "Oh, you should never discriminate against like religion or blah blah blah," and it's like, I don't know if that's a hard rule or if we're just speaking from the position of we're a huge country and we're realistically never going to be threatened by that many of a different type of people coming in anyway. So yeah, I have an open perspective on that, you know? Yeah.
Well, but then the ethnographic fear, the demographic fear from, and you hear this echoed from powerful people. You hear this from J.D. Vance. You hear this from Elon Musk. You hear this from Nick Fuentes. You hear this from the distributist. And I actually want to give you a specific example with the distributist because I actually totally like reoriented the way that I thought about his content recently. The fear is that it does seem to be like the fear of decolonialism. And what I mean by that is Northern Europeans have been so dominant economically, culturally, technologically, whatever, for so long. And our population has gone below demographic replacement, so 2.15.
Sure.
The entire planet is catching up with us. So even in Africa, in the Middle East and North Africa, the fertility rates are dropping, but they're still higher than ours. And so the fear is if we have a fuckload, if we're a plurality, and the Hispanic plurality is as large as the Northern European English-speaking plurality, and then black folk are hostile to whites, and the Jews are, and the Asians are, well, the Asians are probably honorary whites, but then the Jews are split between hostile to whites and honorary whites, then is there going to be this like revenge and or dominance of the Northern Europeans by the people they previously dominated?
Sure. I hear that, but I'm not fully convinced that would happen in that way. I don't think all the other groups would like unite against the whites like that. And again, to take this argument from somebody more seriously.
Yeah, but am I going to have to watch the Super Bowl in Spanish?
Probably not.
Is the halftime show going to be dominated by gays making out with each other? While,
I'm sure there's going to be,
Latino music bumps in the background and Latinas twerk.
Dominated by, maybe, I don't know about dominated by, but I mean, like, culture is always changing. That's like a thing that is happening. Like, there's a lot of conservatives that don't like, I don't know, scantily dressed women, for shit. I mean, I don't know if you want me to say that. Like, I can't promise that.
No, I'm appealing to their sense of being the frog in the boiling pot.
Sure. I guess, like, the reason why I'm reluctant to engage with you on this argument, or we can engage on it, but the issue that I have is that they never articulate things from the other side that they're afraid of or that they're trying to, be protected from. I think that the language thing is actually somewhat legitimate. Like, I'm actually not fully opposed to the concept of having, like, language requirements for the United States. Like, I don't know do you have to speak English to immigrate? I'm actually not sure 100% if that's the case or not. Like, I'm not, like, fully...
No, I don't think we have a national language. As a matter of fact, whenever we bring up codifying a national language, they might have done some, like, federal executive order bullshit.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I
know we don't have a national language.
Passed it.
I know we don't have a national language, but, like, we give tests for immigration, and if all the forms are in English, then you might have to know English. Right?
You might as well, yeah.
But I'm not sure. I just don't know the answer to that. But the issue is just that I never hear, it feels like it's a position of fear that these people are speaking from, or fear mongering, rather than an intelligent, thought out position that they're reasoning from, which makes me.
Well, this is why I'm a Latino futurist. I think that the great civilizations of the Northern Europeans and the swarthy sexual Latins need to synthesize into a semi-coherent culture that takes the best of both worlds and combines them into not a monoculture, but a synthesized culture. I'm a Latino futurist,
Mm-hmm.
but
Also,
the truth
apparently,
is that like
Kristi
I
Noem is
see
gone.
the
Yeah.
what's that?
Apparently, Kristi Noem is gone. Rip.
Woohoo! She's
Somebody,
operating
I thought Moody said that it was a lateral move.
He wasn't here. She's now working for like the special envoy for Project Southern Spear or whatever.
I don't know what the that means, but it doesn't sound like a cabinet level position to me. So that would be a significant downgrade. But okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, all I was going to say is that, like, I feel like these people are on a fool's errand. I think Nick Fuentes is on a fool's errand because not only do the demographics not bode well for the how would I say this, like the division of the tribes, but then not just that, but it seems like everybody else is going into the same direction we are as far as like dropping below fertility and or demographic replacement rates. And then it also seems that like even Hungary and Russia have done massive pro-fertility programs and tax incentives.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as I can tell, they had like a baby bump that moved it like 0.2 or 0.5, but it not even like 0.02 or
yeah,
0.05.
0.5 would be significant, but yeah, much more.
Yeah, not 0.5, 0.02, 0.05. And then as soon as they ended the programs, the baby bump disappeared.
Sure.
So it seems like this is just the way that it is. So for me, Nick Fuentes is fighting. He's basically jousting windmills because the era of like Northern European, I don't even know what to call it, but like explosive demographic growth, it just seems to be over.
Okay.
Yeah. So you might as well get along with your normie, swarthy neighbors because they're not going anywhere.
Sure. Okay, wait. So what exactly is the point of this conversation? Like, I know I can steelman a version of what they might be arguing about. I don't generally care to, and I'm never going to do it in a debate with them. But yeah, I guess what is
the argument? Yeah, the argument is that there's a real fear that I think Konstantin Kisin was not articulating well, but was pointing at, which is when you bring in broad swaths of people from a rival culture or tribe, they're going to fundamentally change the national identity. And then Americans are in a you and I think, are both civic nationalist. So we don't really care if somebody's from a different ethnography or religion as long as they subscribe to American ideals. I don't even know if you put that on there.
Again, this is why this conversation is nebulous to me. When you say like a large number of people brought in will change our identity, any number of people brought in will change an identity, right? That's true. Well, maybe not one person, right? But like immigrants will change the identity for sure. Every kind of import will change an identity. Like it could be an import of goods and services. It could be an import of entertainment or TV. It could be like any type of thing will change an identity. But the question is like, one is what is the identity now, which I never hear them articulate. And then two, what is the identity of the people coming in that you're afraid of, which I also never really hear them articulate. And then three is what would you like the identity to be? And then is this like a worthwhile goal to pursue? And then do the people coming in hurt that goal of what we want the identity to be? And whenever they speak about these things,
I'm going to answer.
Sure. Whenever they speak about these things, they do two things that drive me crazy. One is vague dog whistling or allusions to like ethnicity, which is like, if we want to make it an ethnic thing, then let's just make it an ethnic thing and go from there. And then two is the talk of crime, which I hate. And we didn't really get into this, and some people thought that I was just being evasive on like the rape thing or whatever. Like, if you're going to tell me that you want to preserve your culture and you're worried about other people coming in and changing the culture, and it's like, well, what is the culture that you're worried about? It's like, well, there's a lot of rapists. It's like, what? First of all, I don't believe you. That like, so you're saying that if we brought in the exact same amount of people, but they had 0% rape, would that move the needle at all on them for you? The answer is no, it wouldn't. They might say yes for the person, but it really, no, it wouldn't. It wouldn't, though. It absolutely would not.
It would?
You'd be okay with a million. I don't believe it, and nothing you say, I'm sorry, nothing you say will convince me otherwise. That they would be okay with 5 million brown Muslims coming into the country, and if they had 0 rape, they would be way more okay with that, or even marginally more okay with that than if there was no rape at all. I don't believe that at all. Number one. Number two.
Well, I mean, they would move to different things like jihadist terrorism and IQ and cousin fucking.
Sure, meaning that the rape thing.
But if we could take 1 million Japanese, I think like plenty of people would be like, fuck yeah, bring them in.
Yeah, but the difference is not just crimes or just rapes. Like, there's going to be more differences that they're alluding to there, even if they don't, I guess, realize it. But like when people just point out like a crime thing, like rape is generally illegal in a lot of the countries that these people come from as well. It's not like rape is like necessarily.
Yeah, but hold on. I want to ask you something because you said something that I thought was wrong during the debate. Do you think that crime is cultural?
Do I think that? I think that it can be, but I don't think it's like ethnically essential. And yes. I think that it's worth having a conversation about like how do we prevent people that are likely to commit crimes from coming to the country. Like I'm not opposed to having that conversation.
Yeah,
like,
that's all I wanted to get at.
Sure.
It was like a flippant statement in the middle of the debate, but you're like, crime isn't a part of culture, and I was like,
it's because it's such a loser. You're such a worthless human being. If I'm asking you, like, defend your culture or talk about the epitome of your culture, and like, well, crime is low. Like nobody in talking about the great civilizations of human history, in celebrating like the great achievements or nobody's like, well, in ancient Rome, the burglary and arson rate was actually one of the lowest per capita, 100,000 according to the study of any ancient civilization. Nobody talks about that. It is the most cowardly retreat.
We do? You think we don't compare Mongolians and Greek civilization and say the Mongolians are cool, but they were barbarian, monstrous, raping, murdering pieces of shit? And then like same thing with like Rome, like Romans were obviously like incredibly violent, militaristic pieces of shit. But if you lived in Rome, it was like compared to the rest of the world, it was relatively a stable society. Of course we do.
I don't think that has to do with their... Fuck. And I hit him too, but you guys didn't do the damage.
I didn't do shit.
Losers. That's okay. I don't know if I would consider that to be like crime, like the Holocaust.
Well, it's not crime because they didn't consider it criminal, but we consider it immoral, right? Like the Vikings when they went on raids wasn't
so
crime.
we would talk about that, right? Like if you have a culture of like raping or holocausting or like imperial invasions and stuff like that, that's bad. But I don't think that's like I wouldn't consider those. I know you're not going to take it out of context, but I would consider that like crime, right? Like a military invading a country and doing mass rapes to the people. That's a different thing than just like domestic crime, right?
Sure.
Yeah. I'm just saying in general that like if the only defense you have of some culture you want to protect is like a low crime rate, that just seems like a very basic level 1 like low kind of answer that doesn't really tell me anything about what it is that you value about a particular culture or what it is you want to preserve about a particular
can I answer on their behalf because I think they're either so incoherent or too pussy to actually answer the question earnestly?
Sure.
So when it comes to the J.D. Vance National Conservatives, it's Northern European white Christians.
Okay.
That's the culture they want to preserve. And then when it comes to Konstantin Kisin, I think it's pretty much just the British Empire minus Muslims. Because I think if Konstantin Kisin was talking to like a random Indian or a random Sikh or a random person from Barbados or the British Islands, the Virgin Isles or whatever, he wouldn't be like, oh, you're not a member of the British Empire, get out. Like, he would probably be like, no. Like, we have a colonial history. We've been together forever. You're a British subject. We share this history. But when it comes to the asylees and the economic migrants of the 2010s, I think that if he could, he would say, get out. Because he correlates belief in theocracy, jihadist terrorism, and racist and religiously bigoted mass rape with Muslims. And he thinks he has the stats to back up that these social phenomena are unique to Muslim immigration.
Okay. Do you think that...
I mean, that's it. I'm just being descriptive.
Do you think that if 5 million...
I'm thinking that that's what he's pointing at. You were saying the national conservatives never tell you who they are allied against, and I just told you.
Do you think that if 5 million I just don't believe he should be able to express this in a conversation. So it's very irritating to have a proxy conversation.
I know, this is why I think I should be a bigger creator, because I can articulate these ideas better than he can, and he's a multimillionaire, and I'm over here.
Yeah, but the issue is I don't think he genuinely has these ideas. I think he's just stoking xenophobic fears because he gets money for it, or because he's so traumatized by being attacked from woke scolds or whatever that now his whole political identity is wrapped up in this stoking fears and tensions thing. If you were
he's just a member of the contrarian right, and he knows that if he says, yes, the right wing is bad for XYZ, but have you ever thought that the left is worse?
Yeah, I know, but that's not. But then you're not like
loads of cash.
We're not like
that's the grift I should have done. Oh my God, I should have done that grift.
Sure, but then you're not steelmanning his position. You're steelmanning the position that he has the aesthetic of, right? Like you will never have to come to my stream to steelman Nick Fuentes. I know exactly what he believes, and he can say exactly, and he's not retarded, and he's not illiterate, and he's not inarticulate, so he can express exactly what he means. When you have to come and you have to do all this work to try to explain like what these like edgy, centristy, but actually conservative retards believe, it's because I don't think they actually have that foundation of belief. Because otherwise, not to jerk myself off, but like I'm probably the most willing person on the left of my size that would be willing to critically engage with these conversations. And I wouldn't even say concede a lot of ground, but like reasonably share a bridge with a lot of these things, right? Like you said earlier, like I will admit that it's fine for a nation to want control of its borders, even along ethnic lines. That generally when people are mad about this, usually they're just talking about Israel or they're talking about Americans being racist, but like more or less every other country on the planet kind of believes this. They just don't have the same, quote unquote, threats to them in the way that we do, right? Like there are a lot of, I don't know if I'd say a lot, but there are some Muslim countries, Arab countries that literally have their ethnic majorities built into their state constitutions. But it's not like nobody's like mass migrating to fucking Pakistan, or nobody's mass migrating to Qatar or whatever, so they don't have to worry about it as much, his unwillingness to engage in the conversation means he's either stupid, a bad faith actor, or knows that he can't defend the actual beliefs in front of me. I don't know. I hope he video games.
I mean, or he found his niche. I try to never assign to Malice what can be explained by either incompetence or ignorance. So he could have just found his niche, which is, hey, the right wing's bad, but have you ever considered X, Y, Z thing about the left wing and how it's worse? Because I mean,
Yeah, but even on that end, it seems like he kind of failed, because when I pointed out that like for the immigration stuff, the Conservatives failed massively, and the Labour Party seems to be delivering more in the UK than Labour ever did. It seemed like he was unable to or unwilling to engage with that.
Yeah, so hold on. Something really important in chat. Somebody said, basically, Cotter, you're not pressing Destiny sufficiently. Can you tell him next time he debates Konstantin kissing, can you call him constantly kissing boys?
Okay.
That's the quality of chat that I got going on. Okay. Anyways, so I feel like I've sufficiently articulated national identity, so I don't really want to loop on it if I'm being descriptive. And then when we get to descriptive, you're like, okay, I understand these descriptions, but my opponents need to be sufficiently less pussy in order to just own their shit. I disagree. So I just agree. Excuse me.
Sure.
So I don't know if I really have anything to press you on here. I think where some of your critics got frustrated is when you just kind of say, well, culture's ephemeral and it changes all the time. That doesn't feel like a substantive addressing of the anxiety of mass immigration.
It's not.
But I also understand
but it's because the other guy won't put out an actual fucking position. So I don't even know what I'm having a conversation. Like I'll gladly engage with that conversation. And if he actually wanted to engage with that conversation, I think that there are challenging questions that he could pose to me, or at least to like a standard liberal, progressive, or whatever, that would actually be difficult to answer if they were trying to engage with the conversation of good faith as well, right? Like one of the things, like here's kind of a hidden, here's like a hidden debate hack that I don't think a lot of conservatives engage with. It's kind of just taken for granted that immigrants will always vote to the left, but like, what if it was the case that a whole bunch of people wanted to immigrate from, I'm trying to think of an example besides Israel, because that's the one that they would get the most mad about. But like if you knew there was a country where like 95% of the population voted right wing and 2 million of them wanted to flee or come to the United States, would you be okay with a mass migration of 2 million right wing voting people from the country of Nazistan? I don't know if progressives or liberals
Probably
in
not,
general would
right?
bite the bullet on that. They might actually start to throw up issues with that, but then it's going to be really, really, really hard for them to articulate why that's why is our crossplay turned off? It's going to be really hard for them to articulate why they wouldn't be okay with that without them immediately crashing into a Republican talking point, right? Well, demographic change is going to lead to a different type of vote. Ooh, hold on, I can't use that answer. Well, people that have a fundamentally different value system than me, well, okay, I can't use that answer. If they all come from maybe the same kind of sort of ethnic background, I definitely can't use that, right? Like, I think there would be challenging questions that they could ask there, but Konstantin didn't even have any basic, like, level 1 questions. Like, I don't know if people are aware of this or not. People get frustrated with me in these conversations, and they should be frustrated with the conversation or with Konstantin. You can tell by the conversation that we had that he has never critically engaged with these topics before, with the person that is like challenging him on them. It's just never, ever, ever happened before. And I don't know. I think it's really bad. I think that's pretty pathetic. Also, you guys need to...
I turned it on.
Oh, okay, got you. Cool. You're good.
Okay. I mean, I'm good with that. Yeah, I think that the quality of your interlocutors, if they're making vague dog whistles to national conservatism or anti-mass immigration fears, they need to be able to articulate what they want to preserve and what they're fighting against. I mean, I agree with that summarization. So the last topic that I really had to talk to you about, unless you have anything else that you want to share in reference to that topic, is
I got a quick question, I guess, on the previous topic. Steve said that like immigrants who immigrate here are more likely, or I think he said that they're almost certainly to vote Dem. Is that still the case with like Hispanics? Because I know that we were having like a thing of like the Catholics wanting to vote like very Republican, and like in the 2020, I guess 4 elections, they overwhelmingly voted Republican, the Hispanics specifically.
They broke for Republicans disproportionately, but I still think it was like a plurality. I still think it was like 60% Democrat, 70% Democrat.
So they
But I
broke-
think normally Republicans are getting between like 10 and 20%, and Trump got like between 30 and 40.
I
Yeah,
thought
so
Trump got
it was
like 50 or 60. I guess I was wrong. Yeah.
it was massive gains that they made. So a majority of Hispanic men, 54% apparently voted for Trump, but 37% of Hispanic women voted for Trump. So maybe 43 or whatever altogether. So big gains, but still not a majority of them. Yeah.
Which is interesting because his platform, I guess, was like literally like get rid of the illegals, but I guess it's crab bucket mentality.
When it comes
Yeah,
to
well,
immigrants,
we'll
sometimes,
talk to watch any of the disappointed people, and they were like, "No, I thought he was just talking about the criminals." That's it.
Sometimes.
That's
He says
like
that they're all
it. Every
criminal.
single Hispanic person just thought that he was only going after the bad hombres and not against their cousin or uncle.
Sure.
All right.
What,
Anything else on Hispanics?
Comfort again.
Wait, are you Valor Media Network in your chat?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Why do you keep screaming, lobotomize my balls? Are you okay?
No, not lobotomize your balls. My chat. Okay. So earlier today, I was going harder about our next topic in reference to you being like black pill and Fed posting about like, current political developments. And so I was yelling at my chat about them being black pilled and Fed posting about current political trends. And then they got mad at me. And then I yelled at them. And then I had them come on. And then they said, go on to Destiny's stream and yell at him about this. And I was like, okay. But then I started talking to you about national identity and the Epstein
Guy in the
files.
pharmacy.
And you haven't been a twat, so I'm not yelling at you. So they're disappointed that I'm not yelling at you. And so I'm telling them to lobotomize their own testicles.
Gotcha. Okay.
With an ice pick.
Thanks.
Unork for $2. Thank you, King. So, all right, next topic. Maybe we can get spicy. Maybe we won't, because like I said, my editor cucked the content earlier. Okay?
Okay.
So what do you think is the actual difference between you and Hutch in reference to your political outlook for the midterms and 28?
Did you see the end of our conversation?
I didn't.
Okay.
I only got like 30 to 40 minutes into it.
I think at the end of our conversation, I think I kind of sum it up pretty well. He doesn't think that the situation is as dire as I believe it is right now, and he believes that his prescription will lead to like long-term a healthier, better republic, whereas I believe that mine will, and I think that his will take us on like a medium-term path to ruin.
Okay. What prescriptively? So, for instance, like I talked to Loanerbox about this the other day. And Loanerbox came up with like half a dozen prescriptions that I really liked. They were like reform the pardon power, create a exclusion to the pardon for treason and sedition, the create a DOJ task force specifically for treason and sedition. There was I have them written down right here, so I'll find the other ones. But also have the FCC enforce disinformation laws that are already on the books, and if they're insufficient, pass new laws, and then also codify the 14th Amendment insurrection clause to have a due process, and then follow said due process. And those are the ones that I liked. He also recommended packing the courts, but I didn't like. So out of the recommendations, and he actually said that this is like a legislative priority, like win in 26, get a Democratic president in 28, and these safeguard legislations are the priority before anything else. We must secure the republic before we do anything else. And I'm okay both with the prescriptions and with the immediacy with which he wants to execute them. My question to you is, what is missing from this list of reforms, and how are you going to execute them?
Nobody seems to understand this point of like, this is a conservative brain. Oh, but you're like a conservative. Oh, you're not a MAGA conservative. I need MAGA friends here to explain this concept, okay? You guys, when you talk about this, you always talk about like working within the framework of the system with the best faith adherence to the Constitution. What are the things that we should do in the future to repair our republic? And I don't know how to make your brain work the MAGA way. For MAGA, they go, this is the outcome we want, and how do we get there? This is the meaning of the term, Pisco and your lawyer friends will use all the time, pretextual, right? Is that if I know the outcome I want, I can make any legal reason to get there. And grammatically, at the very least, it'll fit, right? Now, in the best faith, or really, application of law in terms of good faith, maybe not, but like we can get there somehow.
Is this how we got the unitive executive theory going on?
Yeah, exactly, yes. Which I'm pretty sure comes literally from a single fucking sentence in the Constitution, which is retard interpretation. But if you want to get there, getting there is easy. I just need people to want to get there. And then when we get there, or like if they want to get there, then we can figure out how we want to do it. But it's the matter of like, you have to figure out first if you want to get there. But then if you want to get there, then it's a matter of convincing the American public to want to get there, because I don't think the American public wants to get there either. But this idea that like, well, we need a particular plan or thing to do, and it's like, I guess, but I don't know if we would have the appetite for literally anything adventurous. Like even when it comes to like abolishing the filibuster, which is like a procedural thing that would clearly be like a thing that wouldn't be bad faith to the law or whatever. Like people aren't even on board with that. So.
Right, but I think that I kind of am, because I think the immediacy with which the reforms that are needed in order to safeguard the republic are so important that nuking the filibuster in order to do so would be necessary. But not talking about me specifically. So the outcome that I think is often assigned to you is you want to punish MAGA such that the Trump cult and the MAGA sycophants and enablers know that they cannot do the kind of shit that they've done for the past decade without consequence. That seems like the outcome that you're pushing for. Am I wrong?
Kind of, yeah, but not really without consequence. I just don't want them to ever do it again because the consequences are so dire, right? So I'm trying to punish political behavior in a way that I would ordinarily never want to punish political behavior, which seems to require a little bit of stepping outside of the system that I would idealize.
Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet, but I guess that's literally the next question. The next question is, well, I guess what are the punishments? So for instance, you brought up
I have a list actually. A guy emailed me, and I think that these are all based, okay? Ready?
Okay, I'm ready to write them down. Go ahead.
Okay. He said, if I were elected president in 2028, just off the top of my head, I would try. 1. FBI seizes X.com domain, raids all of Musk's businesses and residences. His communications with Putin probably violates ITAR and FARA. Don't really care if I can prove it. While we're at it, let me get a golden share for 100% of SpaceX. Number 2, immediately freeze accounts of everyone related to the Trumps and Witkoffs, anyone with a hint of the crypto shit on them. Number 3, deploy the IMEF to El Salvador, depose Bukele or whatever. Presidents can just do that, right? Seize all documentation about individuals held at CCOT, etc. Okay, let's have the Marines knock some doors in the Cayman Islands too. While we're at it, Ireland owes me some tax proceeds from our largest corporations. Fuck those guys too. Number 4, send U.S. Marshals to every pardoned January 6ther. Our position being that mass pardons aren't effective. We can just grab them, put them back in jail. No need to tell anybody. Maybe we won't even have timely responses to court orders. Randomly move them around a bit. That's cool now, right? Better yet, let's deputize some trigger-happy new ICE hires to make those arrests. 2 birds with 1 stone, right? Next one, arresting random people. Fuck it. There are thousands of pending habeas petitions for illegally arrested Americans, residents, and aliens currently held by ICE and CBP. Usually, my standard for prosecution is if I, the prosecutor, believe they are guilty and am essentially positive I can secure a conviction. The litmus test for the new DOJ hires should instead be about 1% confidence in each element. The process is punishment enough. Next one, we can establish deterrence elsewhere too. I am extremely pro-Israel, but Bibi seems to have decided that he's a Republican. I'll address the Knesset and let them know this is the last time any American official ever speaks to any Israeli official until every party in their entire ruling coalition is in the minority and all of their leaders are private citizens. Also, fuck it, move a carrier into the Black Sea and one into the Baltic. No fly zone in Ukraine. All Russian men and material have 7 days to remove themselves from our 92 borders, or I can do it for you. War's over. Thanks for playing. Next one is... oh no, would this be unpopular? Will we lose the midterms? Who cares? Motherfucker, I'm the president for 4 years. Next is I can do worse. I can say, let's have an ICE training with all personnel in D.C., and then we can divert the planes to Guantanamo. Phones in the bags, boys. I can invite Pam Bondi to the Oval Office and video games with a hammer. I'm the president of the United States. What are you going to do? Pass a law? Good. Get a Supreme Court ruling against me? Good. What's the remedy for my abuses? Impeachment. Oh, but wait. In order for you to vote for impeachment, you need to show up at the Capitol in the District of Columbia, where federal law applies, where all of my new ICE agents are trained and deployed. Sure, would be a shame if I pardoned somebody who happened to video game a congressman, huh? One weird trick. Don't like that threat? How about you pass a constitutional amendment eliminating the pardon and closing a couple more loopholes? Deal? The Democratic nominee is anything short of Lucius Cornelius Sulla. Our republic is over. I'd give it a 50-50, even if we do go hard. Fuck the populares, restore the republic. Sula/Sherman.
That's the most like Fed posting black pill
we need
bullshit
one good
I've ever
man
heard in my entire fucking life.
who's willing to do what it takes.
Window? Is this an Overton window shifting argument? Is this a the guardrails will hold argument, or is this a real argument?
Well, the funny thing is like you present this as so ridiculous, but that email is an analog to every single thing the current admin is doing, and we've accepted that nobody will be punished for. So, I mean, I don't know.
Hold on.
What are you gonna do?
Hold on.
Yeah.
So hold on. Yeah, let's. I wrote these down, so let's do them chronologically. FBI seizes X.com. Do you have a MAGA analog to nationalizing a social media website?
Well, we had Elon Musk, the wealthiest man in the world, who seemed to own Twitter in and of itself, who runs a PAC for the president of the United States called @America that he seized the handle for. That same Elon Musk had an official position in the White House that gave him access to every single system that the federal government runs for an undetermined amount of time. The president of the United States is acquiring golden shares in some large companies. That is a historically unprecedented thing. The president of the United States threatened to, I don't remember if it was execute or just send Mark Zuckerberg to prison forever if Facebook didn't fall in line. There's a truth out there that you could read for somewhere about that. But yeah, I would say all those things are pretty close analogs.
I think you just took a long-winded way to say no.
Okay, I completely and totally disagree, but I understand it's because in your brain it's been so normalized.
By the way, I'm not saying that everything that you just said is good.
No, I understand that, but like I think that I think it's close enough. Like this is one of the issues with
to nationalizing a website. You think these things are identical?
Yeah, I know. One of the issues why in your mind it's not even remotely close to that is because Trump didn't have to nationalize Twitter. Elon did it for him. Trump and Elon were best friends. Elon had an official position in the...
Hold on, we're going to get bogged down on this, but that's totally fine because I'm going to press you because this is like horse shit.
Press away.
So hold on. Can a private person, let's say 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 150 years ago, I don't give a fuck. Can a private person buy a newspaper and then make editorial choices about what is published in said newspaper?
Yes.
What's the fucking problem?
The problem would be if that person was working on behalf of the president of the United States to edit said paper to be friendly to the president and was campaigning for the president. I think all of us would have a huge problem with that.
How is this any different than the Israeli sympathetic purchase of TikTok?
What is this a reference to?
This is in reference to the fact that we have incredibly powerful, rich individuals buy social media and media outlets all the time. The Huffington Post is obviously run by Ariana Huffington, who's been like a Democrat her entire fucking life.
Wealthy or powerful people buying a social media post. I'm talking about the president of the United States essentially having a right-hand man who owns this, who owns the social media post.
Why? Okay, so how is
owns the social
this
media
how is
account.
this argument disanalogous to the status quo prior, when the effectively mass media outlets like Fox News, MSNBC, and CNN and all that kind of stuff were owned by a variety of partisan people, and the partisanship of the media was evident.
Because partisan is different than takes orders from or is best friends with the president of the United States. I think there's like things can be partisan, right? I didn't have the same complaints about Fox News
Okay, so do we have a First Amendment, or is the First Amendment good or bad?
Good,
gone
I
too
guess.
far.
But what do you mean? The First Amendment right now, where the president of the United States will sue you if he doesn't like what you're saying, or use federal agencies to block mergers from companies if you host free speech he doesn't like. That First Amendment right now?
No, you're going too far with it. Is
okay.
freedom of conscience and freedom of speech good or bad? Yes or no?
That's such a vague. Sure, good, I guess. But that's such a vague, nothing statement. But
Okay, so if Elon Musk genuinely believes, and by the way, he could be an idiot, but if he genuinely believes that the left wing, through progressive bullshit and or overregulation, are limiting the greatness of the human species, and he needs to be sympathetic to the federal spending, slashing, deregulating federal government, so they can free up money in order to give money to his SpaceX program so he can colonize Mars. Is that something that he's free to do with his speech?
yeah, sure. But then Twitter should lose all Section 230 protections, and now they can be sued for anything posted on that platform that anybody finds to be illegally or violative or whatever. Like if you're
Why?
telling me,
You can still
because if you're
publish there as a
telling me,
liberal or
if you're
progressive.
telling me that somebody's buying a platform because they feel like it's so important to express some political belief that they have, then why should you have protections? Oh my God. Why should you have impartial protections for owning a social media platform? Like in a way
How
that...
is this not the exact... What's blowing my mind here is I feel like this is the exact inversion of the argumentation that was common in 2019 to 2021, where conservatives, such as myself, were bitching that the terms of service on social media websites were prohibitive. And then the liberals and the progressives were just like, haha, cunts, go make your own platforms. And then they did.
Okay, hold on.
And
Do
now
you
you're
think
like,
that there's a
no,
difference
not
between...
like that.
Because I'm okay with 10 people being independently mischievous or evil, but... Well, I'm not okay with it. That would be bad. But that is fundamentally different than 10 people taking orders from one guy to be mischievous or evil. These are two different things.
Okay, but I'm trying to balance. I agree with you. And if there's a mischievous or evil or conspiratorial attempt to overthrow the Republic of the United States, that should be investigated, prosecuted, and those people should be incarcerated. Okay, I don't know where we disagree in that. What I'm trying to get at,
what? Say that again?
Is I was saying that if somebody is involved in a criminal conspiracy to overthrow the Republic of the United States, they should be investigated and incarcerated.
But you're just thinking about crimes now, so we're not doing anything
Well, I'm
different.
thinking about crimes because effectively within your very first bullet point, you gave me 8. We haven't even, you might have even given me like 15. Within your
what do you mean?
first
How are those
one,
crimes?
we have an explicit violation of the First Amendment of the United States. So are you making that argument because you said, oh, I think this is based?
What's the explicit First Amendment violation? What? First of all, the First Amendment is not a law. So what do you mean? What is the violation
hold
we're
on.
talking about?
What through what justification are you purchasing a social media website and moving it from private to public?
First of all, I think it was about SpaceX, but let me check. Hold on. FBI seizes...
I think the first one was about X.com.
No, he said, while we're at it, let me get a golden share of 100% of SpaceX. But
there was one before that.
Well, the FBI seizes the X.com domain, raids all of Musk's businesses and residences, his communications with Putin, probably violates ITAR and FARA, but I don't care about it. Or FARA, sorry.
Okay, so hold on. There's things in there that I like. So, for instance, if you had suspicions that Elon Musk violated ITAR or FARA, then write up warrants,
well, here, I don't
investigate his
know
properties.
what, yeah, wait. I don't know what the point of this conversation probably is right now. What? Like I
The
understand.
point is that you guys have lost the fucking plot, but
I
you're
understand.
acting like you haven't.
No, I understand. What, like, the whole conversation, because we could run this now, but, like, this whole conversation is going to be you saying it has to be squarely within the good faith bounds and interpretation of the law, and then me saying we should probably be a little bit more creative than that, and then you disagreeing with that. And
Okay,
that's,
so
we're going to loop on that.
let me ask you a follow-up question
But also,
that's
wait, real
pertinent
quick, I just wanted to say, this is why, and Hutch couldn't get this yesterday, and maybe you'll get this or maybe not. This is why I'm saying, like, the how is not really the relevant part. It's the commitment to doing it that matters, and then the how afterwards is however you want to figure it out.
Yeah, that's just fascism. Yeah, that's just flexible authoritarianism.
Sure.
That's all that is.
That's fine.
Okay.
The Revolutionary War
So
wasn't
you're
very
a
democratic.
liberal fascist now.
The Revolutionary War was not very democratic. Okay, overthrowing Hitler and killing all the Nazis was not a very democratic thing. Okay,
No.
Those
You
people wanted to die.
misunderstand. You misunderstand.
No, I perfectly understand. I understand. You're saying that like
No,
you have to
you
remain
misunderstand
within
my point
the-
about fascism.
Okay, go ahead, tell me.
I don't give a fuck about violence.
I know.
Righteous violence is amazing.
I never.
Okay?
Yeah, I know.
Fucking love righteous violence.
Okay.
Okay? Flexible authoritarianism has nothing to do with violence.
Okay.
Flexible authoritarianism has to do with the fact that you achieve power however possible, then you do whatever's necessary in order to maintain power.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds like what you're advocating for.
Okay.
You're advocating for throwing out the system and making up the rules as you go. And so I need to ask you a pertinent question because you're saying like, oh, I don't want to loop on this bullshit. Okay, let's not loop. So are you saying these things because you want to have a hyperbolic propagandistic intent in order to get Democrats bloodthirsty about revenge against the Trump administration? Do you think these are sound policies that you actually want to execute? Or do you want to shift the Overton window by having batshit insane policies, but then allowing the guardrails to drive something that's actually good and productive? What are you doing?
I don't shift the Overton window or whatever. The positions I represent are the positions that I represent. Like that's the thing. They're the things that I believe in.
Okay, so nationalizing Twitter is a position that you sincerely hold.
It was nationalizing SpaceX, but I think seizing the servers.
FBI seizes the domain of X.com.
And should airlift military bulldozers onto the server farms and destroy it. Yes.
Okay. I can think of like a million laws that violates. So what, like, the courts come back and they say, this is somebody else's private property. You're not claiming eminent domain. It's a social media website, so it's the way that a lot of people express themselves publicly.
Listen, we're going to loop on this,
so
but this is how we can do it, right? But you're going to take issue with what I'm going to give, which is fine because you're thinking like somebody who wants to follow the laws. That's fine. But I'm just saying that like if you decide that you want to do it, you could do it in any way possible. Okay, so here would be the way we'd do it. We have identified in the United States of America 7 different sites that we think are optimal for the storage of nuclear weapons. We think that it's a national security crisis that we need to move these things immediately. We're going to have to seize every building in these 7 different locations using eminent domain, and we're going to have to destroy everything there because we can't, for national security reasons, have anybody leave these sites that we've identified. And all of those sites just happen to be where all the Twitter servers are located, and then you destroy them all, you compensate them, and then that's it, right? That's the thing that you could do. The courts could try to stop you, but you could already be done with it by the time they even try to get a stay or whatever, and then that's it. And then at that point you're done. Now, I know you can think of a million reasons why, well, this is bad faith or this isn't okay or whatever. Like, I mean, technically, it's as legal as anything the Trump admin has done. Well, we'll follow the court order afterward. If the court blocks us, then fine, they block us, but everything's already blown up. Good.
Okay. So, I mean, at this point, when people are alarmed, including myself, and I think arguably including Hutch, you are the worst. Okay, so fascism is political corporatism and flexible authoritarianism. So political corporatism is advocating in the nation state's body and treating it as a single biological organism. Flexible authoritarianism, like I said, is actually, in my opinion, the more nefarious aspect of fascism, which is where you just do whatever in order to seize and maintain power. And it seems like that's where you're at. So do you have a time limit on your liberal fascism? Do you have it
would be whatever is necessary.
On
it's
your
whatever is
flexible
necessary.
authoritarianism?
You know what? Here's a question. Here's one question. Let's see where we're at. If the Liberal Party in the United States of America were to conduct itself like the Conservative Party for 10 years, and the Conservative Party also didn't change course, do you think this country would, like, in an accelerated manner, head to complete and utter devastation? So no more laws passed.
Yeah, I think it would implode.
Okay. That's the issue, okay? So whatever is necessary, whatever action needs to be taken that's necessary, that makes the Conservative Party realize, oh, we can never, ever, ever behave in this manner again because the results would be ruinous for us and our party and for everybody involved with it. Or if somebody wants to do it, fine, but I'm not going to be involved with it because I don't want to suffer the consequences of whatever that thing looks like. I have not heard a single thing from any of the libcucks, including you, Counterpoints, okay? I haven't heard a single thing that in my mind would disincentivize that future behavior. And I don't think investigating people for criminal conduct if a law has been broken has been doing...
Imploding the Republic is not a disincentive to you going through that behavior?
No, I'm asking you, what is the disincentive that you're presenting that for Republicans to not engage in the behavior that they've been trending in the direction of over the past 3 decades? Now we're at with this whole MAGA thing, right? What would discourage them from doing the same types of stuff in the next election cycle?
Okay, so what you're saying, if I'm understanding you correctly, is that even if we follow Hutch's, Loanerbox, and my game plan of reinforcing the Republic via legislation so we can fill up the holes... Hold on, let me finish.
Okay, there are no holes.
Fill up the holes that the Republicans are poking in the bottom of our boat, they're going to find new holes to poke.
Yes.
And so we're going to be playing legislative whack-a-mole
forever
with the bad behavior of the Republicans.
Correct.
Okay. So
almost, actually, except instead of whack-a-mole, you're only whacking where the mole used to be, and the same mole is going to pop up over and over again in new holes. But yes.
Sure.
Because no matter what you do, they're going to figure out a way to do what they want.
Yeah.
Okay. So hold on. We're kind of shifting gears, and I promise I'm not trying to be evasive by not answering your question directly. I'm talking about the political opportunity that's right in front of us. Okay. So right now, Trump is probably as unpopular as he's ever been.
I understand we're going to win the elections. I hope we win the elections. I want to win the elections. Yes.
It's not the elections. It's not the elections. It's actually about me.
Okay.
I'm going to talk about me because I love me.
Okay.
Okay? So, the rhinos, the neocons, the people who have been pushed to the sides of the party, the same way that Nick Fuentes is salivating over an imploded Republican Party, that way they can seize more market share of the zeitgeist of the Republicans, is the way that I am salivating over the current political developments. And so I want the H-1B Indian tech futurist right to fight the Christian nationalist right, to fight the conservatarian right, to fight the podcast bro right. And I want them to implode under the weight of the fact that they deferred all of their authority to a pedophile who swept for his own pedophilia using the organs of the state. And in the chaos and destruction of the imploded Republican Party, I want my version of Republicanism to seize as much market share as possible and try to beat the Trump cult into the corner. That's what I want. And I think that opportunity is particularly available in the next 3 years.
That's cool. I understand that you might feel that way. I totally disagree, and I don't think there's any reason to think that what you're saying will ever happen. I don't know why anybody would ever conduct themselves...
How much of the country is in the Trump cult, Steven? Total population.
Not much.
Give me a guess.
What do you mean by Trump cult? Like, we'll literally follow Trump to the end of the earth and do whatever? I don't know, probably like 20...
No. One of the things that pissed me off about your conversation is you said, oh, well, if half the country is already against us anyways, then I don't understand where the hope is coming from.
I was talking about half the voting. I understand that not the entire population votes, and it's,
It's 1/3, 1/3, 1/3,
sure.
Right? 1/3 doesn't vote, 1/3 vaguely votes left, 1/3 votes vaguely right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then the Trump cult is one of 6 factions of the MAGA movement.
Okay.
So if the Trump cult, if the most if the Nazis in Germany are the most powerful faction, but they represent 10 to 20% of the population, then why is it unforeseeable that the other factions could profit from their loss?
Because they can, but the issue is going to be when it comes time to run a campaign for 2028 or 2032, Republicans are going to look at what the most effective strategy is for running their campaigns. And then when they're in power, they're going to look at the most effective ways to manage their power. And they're going to look at how Trump did it in 2024 and they're going to say, why shouldn't we just do all of that stuff again? And you're not going to have an answer.
Because you're going to stomp their guts out in 26 and 28.
That's true. After winning an election twice, after getting his second win in office, getting their, 3, 4 maybe Supreme Court picks if Alito or whatever retires, after abortion's been rolled back, after dismantling the Department of Education and USAID, and after fundamentally rejiggering the entire world order based on their new concept of American isolationism, they are indeed going to lose the midterms. Correct. They are.
Why is that so? Why? I don't know. Whoever the fuck laughed, I want to grab your dick and twist it in a circle.
Thank you.
Why is losing the midterms so like flippant to you?
Because politics
is
about enacting power and enacting your political will. And if they lose midterms, they already don't use the Congress to do what they want. And they've already gotten to enforce a whole bunch of their political will onto the country. It's not like we're going to pass any legislation, obviously, under the Trump admin. So then the question is, well, what are we blocking them from doing? I'm not even really that
Yeah, but
sure.
hold on. But you do understand that anything passed by executive order can be undone by executive order, yeah?
Not necessarily.
Like Trump's agenda, Trump's agenda is built on quicksand.
Okay.
So if you actually did get Gavin Newsom into office, he could thoroughly rape Trump's agenda.
The
Republicans are bitching about that right now, that Congress is not codifying Trump's agenda into law, so it's incredibly vulnerable to the next Democrat.
Mm-hmm. So you can technically anything that's passed via an executive order can be gotten rid of via an executive order, but there are some things where once the damage is done, the damage is done, right? Like USAID and the Department of Education, I don't think are coming back. Maybe the Department of Education, but I doubt it. And those were gone via an executive order. So,
okay. Listen, I think that it is a moral horror that 3 million to 14 million.
Wait, stop. Don't pivot on this. I need you to recognize that you just said anything that can be gained with an EO can be lost with another EO. That's not necessarily true. Sometimes the damage can be done, right?
Yeah, I was about to describe the damage that's been done.
But I just described the damage that's been done. So why are you, I'm giving this as a counter. I'm giving this as a counter to your argument. Okay.
What's the difference?
You're saying that their complaints.
Just see if you can articulate it real quick. What's the damage of PEPFAR and USAID being rolled
I don't
back?
care that you are going to rattle off the exact numbers of people dead. That's not what the point I'm making. I'm countering the qualitative argument you made that an EO that's given can be rescinded with another EO. And I'm saying that the damage that results from an EO coming can't be rescinded with a new EO, rescinding the prior EO. That's all I'm saying.
Sure. Isn't that inherent to power?
Well, sure, but that's why you asked me, the whole branch here was, why do you think that winning the midterms is so trivial? And I'm telling you why. It's because this president is operating everything from the White House. I don't even know how much Congress will be able to stop him from doing.
Okay, hold on. I'll try to address what you're saying head on, because I think this is borderline fucking silly.
Okay.
The United States government and its economy is an oil tanker, okay? And it's massive, and it's powerful, and it does a shitload of stuff every single day. What you've said is that we have drifted this oil tanker into rocks, and we've ripped holes in the hull, okay? And I agree with you, and I think that's bad. However, what I'm saying is, if you look at the damage that's being done to this metaphorical oil tanker, we have the ability to seal compartments, and the oil tanker is still afloat and capable of executing 98% or 95% of what it was executing before. And what you're saying is, well, the current captain, ran the boat into rocks, and that was pretty stupid. So at least from the way that I'm perceiving it, you're saying, let's run it into rocks too, to prove that running the oil ship into rocks is bad. And that seems fucking retarded.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah, real quick.
Absolutely.
Counterpoints. How can you say that that's what Destiny just said when he's trying to tell you that you're saying that everything can be resealed, and for most of it, like, things will keep on moving? What he's saying is something has been blown in the hole. You're trying to agree with him and say 3 to 16 million people might die because of it, and then you're like, but if we seal it up, those 3 to 16 million people, Destiny is trying to say those 3 to 16 million people have already died. There's no going back from that. There's no.
You're not even U.S. citizens. I'm upset off of the moral thing, but do you think that has anything to do with what the United States 98% fucking does every single day?
Except.
Did you notice the 3 to 16 million African dead?
Connor,
If I
what
hadn't
he's
brought them
saying
up,
is
on
you're
I'm
news
just saying,
articles,
I was only
do you
countering.
even
Hold on,
fucking notice?
I was only countering the point that
Yeah, he's
just because
saying
stuff is
one
done,
thing.
just because stuff is done by executive order and can be rescinded by executive order, doesn't mean that that's a good thing or that that's like a huge
There's
victory.
no
over it.
incoherence in this point, and you're imagining an incoherence.
Okay.
I'm upset that 3 to 16
I
million
don't care.
people
I
are
know. I
dead.
don't want to rattle off the
No,
numbers.
Destiny, shut the fuck up. I'm talking to this guy. So I'm upset that 3 to 16 million people are dead because it was preventable and it's dumb. Do you think that those 3 to 16 million people being dead, and I think it's 14, by the way.
Is anybody
3 to 14
disagreeing
million
with you?
dead.
No,
Does
but he
that
likes to do the
alter the
numbers thing.
course of the United States whatsoever?
Does it affect the United States? I would say that probably there's. I don't know the numbers.
Wait, that's
or
a
if
big
there's any
question. It doesn't
studies.
even matter. It's not relevant. My
Yeah,
only point
okay,
was
yeah,
just
you're
that
right.
any
The
EO,
answer is
an
negligible.
EO that you rescind,
That's the correct answer.
An EO that you rescind doesn't mean that the damage from the prior EO is gone. That's all I was saying.
And I agree with you. Those 3 to 14 million people are dead. What I'm
Okay,
arguing
but then that
is
was
the
an
fact
answer, but then
that if
that-
you look at the entirety
an
of the United
answer.
States as a functional state entity, then that is a minimal amount of our annual efforts.
Sure. I was just saying that this is, you asked me, this whole branch is started from, you asked me, why do you not feel like whoop-de-doo over winning the midterms? And that's why, because there's a ton of damage the Trump admin will do in 2 years, and will do in the last 2 years, even if we have both. I don't even know if we're slated to win the Senate, but even if we have all of Congress.
It's pretty far out there to win the Senate right now.
And, and
Okay,
an easy,
what-
here's an easy
what I'm-
counterfactual. Here's an easy thing that could stop me right now. Like, what do you think? I can think of one answer. What do you think would have changed if we would have had the House and Senate over the past year? The only thing I can think of that would change is that one big beautiful bill thing would have passed in a significantly altered form, which would be good. But that could be an argument. I don't know when our next budget reconciliation fight thing is coming up, or if we're.
I mean, I think the
Yeah, we
DHS
probably,
is funded for like 5 years or something crazy.
Yeah, but I also don't know.
PEPFAR
Yeah, how that works. Yeah.
PEPFAR and USAID might have had a softer off ramp.
How?
Which would
wasn't
have
that was
saved
all
3 million
done?
to 14 million
That was
people?
all done
What?
via the executive branch.
Yeah, but the whole point is like it's the rescissions package that's accepted by Congress. So effectively what happened was the executive branch said, we're going to cut this. And Congress said, okay, we'll take the money back. Congress doesn't have to accept rescissions. They could have said, no, this program needs to continue. Or they could say, we will sunset this program, but in order to not have an interruption of services, we're going to do so this way. Here's the funds.
I would have to check that, but I'm almost positive that that's not true. Because the implication
They were talking about doing that. They were actually even talking about how because
hold on, I
PEPFAR
don't believe
isn't fully gutted.
the
It's like
conversation.
80% gutted. Hold on, and USAID isn't fully gone. It's just now under the authority of the State Department.
Yeah, I don't think the conversation was about
USAID
whether or
was
not
only
they
cut
should.
by $30 billion, but it's a $150 billion program.
Sure, I don't think the conversation was about whether or not they could cut it or do rescissions or whatever. I think the conversation was, what are we going to do when Trump says he's not going to spend the money anyway? Because I think that was Trump's position. He just won't spend the money. So I don't think that there was a way for Congress necessarily to save.
I think you call them. I think with a Democratic Congress, you call Marco Rubio onto the Hill and you say, "Hey, you're unnecessarily killing 3 to 14 million people. What's your plan for these 3 to 14 million people?" And you fucking grill the shit out of him over the fact that he's effectively
He doesn't have to
doing
show
like
up.
a
I don't think
double
for these-
anti-Jewish holocaust of black people through incompetence.
I don't think those grillings even work. It's just
I don't know if Americans would give a fuck as much about especially for foreign stuff, but yeah. Make no mistake.
I'm confused.
I know 3 to 16 million people
dying a big
dying
deal or not?
I understand. It's a big deal. It sucks. It's bad, but I don't think most Americans care that much about it, as evidenced by the fact that nobody gives a fuck or even talks about the USAID stuff.
Yep, no one cares about Africa.
But so don't get me wrong, okay? I think that winning the midterms is good, okay? And I think we'll probably win in 2028, which is good. I'm just saying that you want to disincentivize this strategy from ever being utilized in the future because people can see the great success of it. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Okay, then I'm going to tell you this.
Yeah.
What you during your debate, you said that the United States is metaphorically is an incredibly fit person, but for the past decade we have been like slamming donuts and fast food, and it's starting to affect our health. And if we keep going on this route, then we're like pre-diabetic and gonna get obese. What I hear when you say, I don't care how power works, I just want to do this, and then we'll clean up the mess afterwards. What I hear is you metaphorically, in the same metaphor, you want to smoke crack to lose weight. That's what I hear.
Drastic times call for drastic measures.
Well, see, and you don't even deny it, yeah.
Sometimes crack can be a good weight loss.
Yeah, it can be a great stimulant. You could lose a ton of weight.
You can't do the, like, if they go low, we just continue to go high ad infinitum. Like, it just can't happen.
Oh, that's what you think. We're going to win the midterms.
And this is what
I'm
pisses
not
me
saying
off about
you did.
DGG
We're
right now.
gonna
Hold on,
win
you
the
cunts.
midterms.
Hold on, cunts.
Oh,
Hold on, cunts.
shit.
Hold
This
on,
has been a
cunts.
thing for
No,
Dems
hold
forever,
on.
man.
Steelman Connor's position. He doesn't want to just do the go low, go high thing. He also wants criminal investigations when crimes have been committed. Okay, so to be fair.
Yeah, wait.
Like, if we know that the boat can take on water so easily, and a new administration can come in and just do this over and over and over again, you have to do it to make it be fixed. You can't just let it happen, and then all of our allies hate us over a president who lasts 4 years.
Yeah. Actually, hold on. Let's keep going with this metaphor. This is perfect.
Oh, God.
So what I'm saying is, these motherfuckers have driven the oil tanker into the ship is taking on water, but it's not going to drown. And what I'm saying is you need to get damage control teams down into the bottom of the ship, and they need to plug those holes. And you're saying, well, if they get in power again, then they're just going to rip new holes in the boat. And so as a result, you patching the holes is not going to fix that future problem.
Yeah, we got to
And
send
what
a
I'm
ship to the
saying
yard
is,
and fix it.
How about you cunts be responsible captains? Don't run the ship into new rocks. That way you can say, hey, we didn't run the ship into rocks. We're the better alternative. F the other captain. We just finished patching the holes in the boat. Don't vote for the other fucking captain. And you guys are acting like that's fucking crazy, because what you want to do is, if in this metaphor of being obese, you want to smoke crack, and then in the metaphor of the ship, you want to run it into different rocks to prove how bad ramming a ship into rocks is, and it's fucking retarded. You guys are just jerking each other off online. Nobody else believes this shit.
Okay. I can't. The boat analogy is retarded. I can't work with this. But if you want to make an analogy to a moving vehicle,
Tell me what about it is retarded.
it just doesn't. It doesn't. None of it makes sense. Because driving a boat into rocks, I don't see how that ever helps anything ever. That's fucking retarded. You're right. So the analogy is stupid as fuck. Okay. Here's a better analogy. Okay.
Yeah,
here's a better
hold on.
analogy. Let me do a better. No, let me do a better one. 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 No, that's retarded. You're retarded. There's no foreseeable future where driving the boat into rocks helps. You crash the ship and you all die. That's fucking retarded. Okay. What a more equivalent answer is let's say that you have a kid, and let's say that he is riding a trike, and he rides his trike, and you say, hey, when you're riding your trike, make sure to put on a helmet. And let's say he's like, okay, fine. And you force him a few times, but he stops wearing his helmet. Okay. And eventually, let's say you look at him, you're like, you know what? It's raining outside, and he's not wearing his helmet, and he's going to go ride his trike. Now I could force him to wear his helmet, or maybe I let him ride. Maybe he takes a little bit of an accident and he hurts himself, and then you bring him inside and go, hey, look, that's why we wear our fucking helmet. Okay. That's what I'm suggesting, all right? That the infinite patchwork thing, when the other person doesn't want to play by the rules, and the second you stop babysitting them, they're going to ride without a helmet because they don't know what the consequences of riding without a helmet is, okay? Whether that be on a real bike or on a motorcycle in the future, let them crash when the stakes are a little bit lower. See what happens when you do that, and then in the future, they'll know why they have to wear a helmet. That's the thing that I'm saying, okay? I don't know how driving the ship into rocks helps. That doesn't make any sense. You never save a ship by driving it into fucking rocks. It's retarded.
Yeah, that's why I'm telling you it's retarded.
It's shrimple ass, Connor.
Shrimple as.
Man, I'm going to come down to Miami and I'm going to fist fight all you cunts. So anyways.
Well, wait, can you just answer
How?
my... No, you got to answer my original question. Just answer my original question, because you evaded it. You dodged it. My original question was, can you tell me what is the thing that you guys are suggesting? Because, by the way, I don't like my answers, okay? I think they're pretty bleak, and I agree with that. And I don't even know if they'd be politically popular. I agree with that. But tell me, what are the suggestions coming from the other side that would inhibit conservatives from acting this way in the future?
Well, I think that we went over all of the safeguards that we wanted to put in, so they wouldn't be able to act that specific way.
Give me one.
Putting in a pardon exception for treason and sedition. The president can no longer pardon treason and sedition.
I say get rid of the pardon.
The president can no longer pardon treason and sedition. I think that it was disgusting that Trump did that, but I don't think of all the things he's done that's like been the biggest threats to the
okay, but you're hold on.
Also, that doesn't get rid of the 1600 J6ers that were. No, it's not about me liking the answer. It's me saying what would discourage future behavior that looks like the behavior that we have now. What would discourage that? I don't think if you made it so you can't treason, seditious, or treasonous behavior, if you can't pardon that, I don't think Republicans are like, oh, we got to behave in the future because we don't have pardons for these particular, like, historically difficult to get convictions.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Let's work with this. Let's work within this framework. So you think that if Trump wasn't able to pardon the January 6th rioters, that would not deter future actions?
Of the no. I don't think those people that were... the people that were rioting weren't planning on getting pardoned. They thought that Trump was going to show up and help them win the insurrection.
Yeah, because they're retarded. But do you think that if there's 1,500 people who are sitting in prison for decades because they tried to overthrow the Republic of the United States, and then Donald Trump tries to do it again, how many people do you think are going to be willing to do that if there's already 1,500 people who are still sitting in prison?
All of them. I don't think that they're going through this with the plan of there's a pardon available.
I think that's incredibly retarded.
Okay.
You think that 1,500 people show up in order to do January 6, 2021?
Wasn't it like 100,000 people that showed up?
1,500 of them, hold on, I'm going to finish. Thank you. Appreciate you. 1,500 of them are in prison for decades. And then we have January 6, 2025, and another 1,500 people do the exact same thing?
You say 1,500, but it was like 100,000 or 50,000 people that showed up to this, right? It was just the front 1,500 that got in.
I'm saying I'm pretty sure 1,500 were actually arrested, prosecuted, incarcerated.
Sure, but I mean, it's not like all 50,000 could get into the Capitol. But like, if you were to not, even if you were to say,
yeah, so 50,000 show up, but how many of them do what the 1,500 did previously?
As many as can fit.
So okay, so your answer is they just do it again.
Yes.
Even though there's 1,500 people who are currently rotting in prison for decades.
Well, I don't think those 1,500 people weren't charged with sedition and conspiracy, so this wouldn't even apply to any of them. Right? They were charged with like trespassing and rioting or whatever the fuck else and violent activity. The only people that were charged with seditious conspiracy were the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys or whatever.
Loophole, okay, fine. So let's go ahead and expand.
If you wanted to say, by the way, real quick, if you want to say get rid of the pardon power, period.
No. We're following the logic.
Oh, boy.
Pardon power cannot extend to treason, sedition, and rioting to interrupt a fucking government function or some shit. Whatever statute applied to the January 6ers, you expand the pardon power to not be able to include that. And you're saying that's not a deterrent.
I don't think that people that are committing crimes like that or enacting things like that are thinking with the wherewithal of like, I believe that if I get arrested and this gets fucked up, that President Trump will pardon me in the future. Because in their mind, this is like an all or nothing thing, right?
So I think this is bullshit, but that's okay. Okay. So let's move to the next example. Also, keep in mind,
in terms of like practicality,
since you don't like it,
real quick, keep in mind that
you don't like it.
Okay, hold on. Wait, because I'm letting you get away with way too much loaded shit without loading mine stuff in the opposite. Okay, it is retarded to imagine that a person who is rioting at the Capitol with the goal of overturning the government is going to restrict their behavior based on what they think the current governing regime will be limited by, okay? That is fucking nonsense, okay? So if you're saying like, hey, we're going to go have an insurrection at the Capitol, and somebody says, well, hold on, you can't have an insurrection because that's against the law and the president won't be able to pardon you. Which president? The one that I'm helping coup the fucking government? He just won't have me arrested, right? This whole line of argumentation is actually fucking retarded, okay? I just want my opinion to be clear on that. You can have your opinion, but I would make sure mine is clear on that, all right? Number one. Okay. Number two, if you want to change the pardon, I'm pretty sure that requires like a constitutional amendment, all right?
The coup fails. No, you reframed it.
Okay.
So the coup fails, and the people who participated in an attempted coup are currently incarcerated for decades.
Yeah.
Does that affect the future behavior of people? Yes or no?
I think that might actually, yes.
Okay, that's close enough that I don't care.
Okay.
The coup is failing.
But
is
for
the
that,
thing that would
we would have
it.
actually needed to
No.
convict
Don't
a ton
reframe
of
it that
people
that
for that.
wasn't what I
I'm
was
not
saying.
reframing
That's exactly what I
I'm
fucking
saying
said.
that that's not what happened. The only people that were convicted of any kind of treasonous thing were the Proud Boys and I think maybe the Oath Keepers. Did you bring enough ammo with you to kill this? Because I didn't. I have like 50 bullets.
Yeah,
no,
if,
I didn't bring a ton.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah, if Enrique Tarrio was in prison for the next 30 years, do you think the Proud Boys are going to do what they did in 2025?
I think there's a good chance of it. But I also think that over half the people that were insurrecting at the Capitol, I bet they don't even know who Enrique Tarrio is. So I don't think it would influence most of them.
We just don't.
I would say
we
yes.
We
because
don't
these
agree
people
on
are
the
crazy.
nature of crime and punishment and deterrence, so I'm ready for the next one.
Okay.
Okay. For
No, hold on. I'm sorry. The statement you just made was so fucking retarded. When you said, we don't believe in the nature of crime and punishment and deterrence, you're talking about an action that involves overthrowing the lawful order. So definitionally, this is going to be different than any other type of criminal thing we're talking about. We're not talking about the chance of getting caught for murder or the chance of getting caught for stealing. We're talking about being held criminally responsible by a government that you are trying to actively overthrow. I don't think that in your mind, you're necessarily thinking of, am I going to be pardoned by the next president when you're trying to coup the government to get a new president in? That's what I think. Maybe it'll deter a few people, but there are plenty more to show up. There were over 50,000 people at the J6 stuff. Only 1,500 got to the Capitol. Even if 10,000 decided not to show up, there are easily more that would have taken their place. 100%. Okay.
I'm gonna restate a statement that you already agreed to.
Good.
January 6, 2021 happens. 1,500 people are incarcerated. They're serving lengthy sentences.
Hell yeah, that would have been.
Does that
based.
affect future behavior? Yes or no?
I think it would have. Yes.
Okay, that's
If it
all
would
I
have
need.
happened. Yes. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Sure, but I think there's enough crazies out there to go do it again.
Maybe.
Okay,
but
then
I
we
think
shoot that.
the way that Jesus.
Then
Wait.
next time, okay. Here's
Wait,
here's
I'm
my.
sorry, I'm sorry,
here's
I just
my-
realized-
hold on, no,
wait.
I got it. I want
No,
this
wait,
one.
because you're going to go to a whole different thing.
No.
I just want to say real quick, the reason why I think that deter, because I just realized where some of our mismatch was. The reason why I think, like, I would say the exact same thing if the officers had opened fire and if, like, 20 people had been killed by gunshots. I think that would deter almost all future behavior. But not because people would be thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be arrested, or oh my God, I'm going to be shot, but because it would have forced, like, a national conversation, and people would be reminded of, like, the day of, and, like, everything that happened, and how fucked up everything was, and that people had been arrested and held accountable, and that this was all, like, a really, really, really fucking bad thing. It would have forced the national conversation and more attention on it. That's why I think it would have deterred future behavior. I'm sorry. Not simply because there were people in jail. It would be, yeah.
Okay, perfect. No, that actually goes along with my proposed reform. If there's a riot within the Capitol building or the White House, and the Capitol Police are able to articulate imminent threat of death or great bodily harm, they are authorized to open fire. That's my reform.
Okay.
50 Ashley Babbitts.
Okay.
100 Ashley Babbitts. If you riot in the White House or if you riot in the state capitol, you can be put down.
Is that even a reform? I would
think
assume
if
that's
there's-
No, it's
already
not.
a thing.
But it could be an explicit policy change stating that the Capitol Police let shit go on for too long. They have the ability to articulate deadly force under imminent threat of death or great bodily harm. More cops should have opened up.
Jesus. I mean, like, if you felt like you were under threat of great bodily harm or injury or death or whatever, you had the right as a police officer to shoot. It was only through an ungodly
but you remember that
amount
cop
of...
who got slammed into the doorway?
Yeah.
Remember that cop who was being crushed by the doorway because the mob was crushing his body between the door and the whatever?
Yep.
A police officer behind him
Yeah.
should have pulled his pistol, put it over his friend, and shot whoever was crushing his coworker with the door.
Okay.
That's the ROE now.
Well, no.
So if you do a January 6th again-
That was the ROE before. It's just that the officer
It was
showed
the ROE,
the
but I'm
officer
saying we
showed
can
an
make it
incredible
like we can
amount
make
of
it
restraint.
policy. We can say,
it already
hey,
is.
you thought we
Oh, you're
that we
saying
wouldn't
that,
back
like, the
you
new
if you
policy
shot an
is gonna be,
unarmed
like,
protester, but if they're crushing
proactively-
your coworker, you can shoot them.
Sure. Okay. All right.
Sure, updated training for Capitol Police so they can slaughter more protesters if they're engaged in a riot in the Capitol building.
Protesters
That's
is a
another
pretty
reform.
odd word for what they were.
Why? You guys keep going, geez. Why?
They were rioting.
Why? There was imminent
wouldn't call
threat of
them
death or great
protesters.
bodily harm. Why are you freaked out by that?
I just
disagree
don't even
with you.
understand that. I don't even know what the change is that we're suggesting. But sure, whatever it is, sure thing.
Updated training. Okay. Anyways, so it seems like you agree with that one. 50 Ashley Babbitts next time. So
Good.
this one I actually do love.
Not good. Video game. Go ahead.
I actually have two that I should probably address before I wrap. But foreign disinformation and FARA laws not only should be explained to the public, they should be aggressively enforced. Effectively, the Tenet media investigation should have resulted in lengthy sentences for anybody who knowingly participated in it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay. Do you think that that would disincentivize future disinformation campaigns in the United States, sponsored by a foreign rival?
If we actually enforce stuff like that, yeah, I think it would be. I think that's a really, really important thing we need to do. Yes.
Okay. This is the other one that I wanted to address that I think is important. So a codification of the 14th Amendment insurrection process and an execution of said process. So let's say that they say, oh, well, this power is delegated to Congress. How? Do we have a committee that establishes whether or not somebody is guilty of insurrection, even if they're not guilty of underlying crimes? Do we have to vote on it 51-49? Do we have to vote on it 60-40? But whatever Congress comes up with in order to enforce the insurrection clause of the 14th Amendment, codify it, and then enforce it.
Sure. This would require a
Even
constitutional
retroactively
amendment, but yeah,
for
sure.
January 6, 2021.
Yeah, you can't do that. But I mean, like, you can have
Why couldn't you? If they hadn't been pardoned, or if they hadn't been,
because it's a principle of something called fucking ex post facto or some bullshit. But I don't remember what it's called. You can't make a law retroactively apply, basically.
I think ex post facto is the word.
Good.
I hear you. The only reason why I would push you on this, I'm not going to lose any sleep if I'm wrong. I don't care if I'm wrong in reference to this argumentation. I would say the 14th Amendment is already on the books. The reason why it hasn't been enforced is because nobody understands the enforcement mechanism.
Oh, look at that. See, there's a creative... Okay, yeah, I'm on board with that, sure.
Yeah, so codifying the enforcement mechanism has nothing to do with whether or not the law is already on the books.
But the only
At least in my opinion, that's what I would argue in court.
The only punishment, though, for that 14th Amendment is that you just can't hold a future office.
Which is fine, but hold on, think about this, because this would actually enable... When you guys talk about Nuremberg 2.0, I get actually kind of fucking annoyed, but that's okay.
Okay.
That is what would be required for Nuremberg 2.0, or Truth and Reconciliation, whatever they call it, Truth and Reconciliation Council. You would need to codify the process of the 14th Amendment insurrection clause, and then you would need to enforce it. So that's like the first step. And you guys are like LARPing about Nuremberg 2.0, and you're not even thinking about the first step.
Okay. Nuremberg has nothing to do with the 14th Amendment or any of the resulting consequences from the 14th Amendment. But if it really makes you feel powerful and good to use the word LARP, then good job.
You think there are plenty of people that aren't listening to you when I ask what do they want? They say Nuremberg 2.0.
I'm sure there are people that say it. Sure.
I think I've heard you said Nuremberg 2.0.
I probably said it. Yeah,
I think
but
you said Nuremberg 2.0 in a debate.
I wasn't making fun of you for the Nuremberg 2.0 thing. Well, I was kind of making fun of you. I was making fun of you for implying that, like, I was making fun of you for saying that, like, the first step is bringing back Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. I don't think that has much to do with anything.
If you want a Truth and Reconciliation Council that actually holds the Trump administration accountable for its crimes, how would that not be the first step?
Because there's nothing criminal about it. All the 14th Amendment would prohibit you from doing is if you were a prior oath taker, you cannot hold future office. That's the only punishment that it confers.
Wouldn't that be good for the Republic?
I mean, I think it would be, yeah.
And wouldn't that potentially deter future people doing that?
To bring that back? Yeah, no, I think it would be a good change. Wait, I don't even know what the fuck you've mind fucking arguing. I think it would be a really good change. I don't disagree with any of that.
Okay.
Cool.
Cool. So to be clear,
even if the only thing is that it would require a whole new constitutional amendment to do it. But I think it would be a good change. Yeah, of course, we should bring back that.
I don't think so, but that's okay.
How would it not require a new constitutional amendment to undo a prior constitutional amendment? Actually, there's one right answer here.
What constitutional amendment are you undoing?
Right now, you would be undoing. You want to change the 14th Amendment?
No, I don't. What's 14th Amendment Clause 3 state?
Well, right now, the Supreme Court has said that the only way to enforce that Section 3 is with a statute from Congress. Congress has to enforce it.
Statute from Congress?
I don't know if you call it I think it would be, or a law or something, but yes. Congress has to pass a thing, yes. I hope right now in your brain you're thinking that sounds really retarded, because it is retarded. But yes, that was because in the thing, what their retarded argument, and I agree it's retarded, but if you look at the 14th Amendment, there is a clause that says that you can remove the injury or you can cure the injury or whatever by having Congress pass a law saying we forgive these people. But Congress, so this is the last sentence is actually, but Congress may, by a vote of 2/3 of each house, remove such disability. And Roberts and the rest of the retards on the Supreme Court interpreted that as well. If Congress has the ability to cure that disability, then it must be Congress that enforces the disability, even though Section 3 provides for this language. But that's what they said, yes.
Couldn't you infer? So what I would infer, this would be my line of argumentation, what didn't Colorado effectively state that they appointed a council of experts to determine whether or not Donald Trump and his ilk had conducted insurrection?
Correct. In every court where it was adjudicated, they made that determination, but it was not in a federal court ever that adjudication was made. Yes.
Well, correct. But what I'm saying is they made that adjudication, and then therefore they use that as justification to remove Trump from the ballot.
Yep.
Why couldn't Congress say, well, it's up to Congress to cure? If it's up to Congress to cure, then it's up to Congress to kill. I don't know. And so they could say, okay, well, the way that Congress is going to do that is we're going to appoint a bipartisan council of 12 congressmen who effectively adjudicate, whether or not somebody has committed insurrection, and then they determine it. And then that's it. And then that person is barred from office.
I mean, they could do it.
I don't think that requires new legislation. I think that requires them just saying this is how we're going to do it.
Correct. Yeah, no, they could do that right now, sure. But they could literally just do it right now. Like Congress could pass a thing tomorrow and say, by a vote of 2/3 of each house, we have decided that all of these people were engaged in insurrection or aided in insurrection, and now they're no longer able to hold office. They could just do that right now under the current reading of the thing. Yeah.
Okay. So the main thing that I want to point out through this conversation, because I think one of the main contentions is that you are accusing Hutch, me, and Lonerbox by proxy of only wanting to patch the holes in the boat. But what I think that we've articulated, because I brought up like 3 bullet points that are reforms that Lonerbox, to his credit, brought up. And I think not only do they patch holes in the boat, they prevent us bumping into maybe the same rocks, but at least we're not bumping into the same rocks in this metaphor. We can bump into different rocks.
Yeah.
But at least we're not bumping into the same ones.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, like, I don't know why we're... If you want to roll the analogy thing, okay, you know how people create hacks for games, and then the anti-hack people have to create like an anti-hack, and that's like an arms race back and forth?
Yeah.
I don't want to be in an arms race with the other party insofar as rule of law is concerned. We should all be in the same playing field. When we're patching or reforming stuff in order to prevent rule breakers from breaking rules, when we're patching and reforming stuff, that's a losing game. I don't want to play that game. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, but how are you not saying I'm going to deter their hacking by hacking myself?
I am saying that.
Yeah, isn't that retarded? Isn't that how you break games?
Well, it's not retarded because you're doing something, because your goal is ideally, hopefully, is different than the other person's goal. Their goal is to destroy the liberal system by hijacking it and taking advantage of it. And your goal is to, unfortunately, working outside of the liberal system, save the liberal system by enforcing that everybody inside that system is going to play by the rules.
No, I think this perfectly articulates why I disagree with you so aggressively.
Okay.
So Titanfall 2 is the best first-person shooter of the past decade. And unfortunately, it's not well known, or it's not as well known as it should be.
Okay.
And it was beloved by its community for years after its creation. And hackers ruined it for months or years. And Respawn, because they didn't have the assets, they only put 1 or 2 people on the patch team. And so the game was unplayable for months.
Okay.
So the reason why I'm articulating this history is, number one, I love Titanfall 2, and you guys should go play Titanfall 2 immediately. However, if somebody told me, well, the way that we're going to fix Titanfall 2 isn't by patching and aggressively banning hackers via the 14th Amendment. Instead, we're going to hack it ourselves so we can teach the hackers that hacking is bad, I would be like, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my entire life. And
this happens a
anybody
lot.
who's
They put them in
trying to play the game is going to stop playing the game, because the malicious hackers are going to be hacking. the virtuous hackers are going to be hacking, and anybody who's playing the game isn't going to be able to play the game. And that's why that's dumb as fuck.
Well, they actually do this. They put people into hacker cubes. Maybe not for Titanfall 2, but like if you're seen hacking in like, I don't know, in like Battlefront or whatever, you're going to go in queues with only other hackers.
It's also, the issue is that like it's totally disanalogous. It doesn't work here because you can never.
Why? It was your analogy. I just went with it.
No, but because you're talking about like what I just told you was that I don't want to be involved in like the arms race between hacking and anti-hacking.
You don't want to be a patching cuck.
Right?
You don't just want to do patches.
But the issue is that like people hacking in a game is never going to disincentivize other people from hacking in the game, right? Like that doesn't make sense from like a queue to queue. You don't play with like the same players over and over and over and over again. Now, because of the way that matchmaking works, we're kind of you're getting like you're rolling like a new country every single time. So there's no like learned behavior, you know? If we to go with the tit for tat thing. What do you mean? Okay, hold on. Do you think that if a person hacks in a game against another hacker, that other hacker is going to be like, wow, that guy hacked against me. I think I'm probably never going to hack again.
No.
Okay. Do you think that in our system, if conservatives thought, ooh, if I'm like working heavily with this Trump coin shit, I might have literally every fucking asset I own seized, and I might be under criminal investigation for the next decade. Do you think that would disincentivize them from engaging in that behavior?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the difference, right? But I don't think there's anything illegal.
But prosecuting people for corruption isn't the equivalent of hacking.
Corruption is not a crime, and crypto coins and owning Trump coin and being involved in rug pulls and all that bullshit is not illegal. So you would have to use something.
Then let's make it illegal.
That's fine, but you can't ex post facto make the prior engagement with it illegal.
I don't give a fuck. And by the way, this is one of the things that actually consistently pisses me off about the conversations that we had. What was it? About Hunter Biden. It is basically like, oh, well, it's just nepotism and cronyism, so who gives a fuck? And Trump is substantially worse, so definitely who gives a fuck? And my solution is, let's make a rule prohibiting this behavior.
Do you think that it's possible for you to make so many rules prohibiting behaviors that future Republicans that see MAGA as a template just will have no options or no place to go? They'll be like, I guess they patched everything. Like, do you think that's possible to do?
No, but I think there's glaring exploits right now that must be patched.
How are there glaring exploits in a system that's been running for hundreds of years?
Crypto and public bribery and...
You think that absent crypto, the current administration would be significantly improved?
What's that?
You think that absent crypto, the current administration would be significantly improved?
Yes, I think that a lot of the things that you don't like and I don't like, to be clear, would still happen, but I think that we wouldn't have arguably tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe billions at this point. I think it's billions, laundered into the Trump administration exclusively so he can reward the people who are helping him do the money laundering.
Do you think that we would? Do you think that would have changed any of the? Do you think that would have changed?
Black eye to the presidency of the United States. It's borderline horrific that it wasn't prohibited prior to his presidency.
Do you think that it would have changed any of the ICE behavior?
No.
Do you think it would have changed the invasion of Iran or Venezuela?
Maybe.
I don't think. Okay, I don't.
Maybe a lot of the donations are coming from the Gulf states.
Do you think that we invaded Venezuela or we invaded Iran because Saudi Arabians are buying crypto from the Trump Foundation?
No, but I think the Saudis, the Qataris, and the Omanis, and the Israelis, they might have said, hey, we gave you billions of dollars. Iran's a pain in the ass. Can you kick Iran's ass for us?
Yeah, but they don't need crypto to do that, right? Qatar literally gave them a fucking $500 million plane, right? It's not like they need crypto to do any of that.
Sure, but that should also be prohibited, right?
Yeah, but like...
Foreign nations should be prohibited from gifting hundreds of billions of dollars worth of shit to the president of the United States in consideration for geopolitical or trade considerations?
Sure. So I'll find a way to run this argument better in the future because we're just not going to agree on this right now. But like, I am firmly of the mindset, and you seem to disagree. You cannot have any rule system that does not have good faith cooperation between both parties. It is impossible to make that work. And you're going to say, well, I agree, but you can get 99% of the way there. And what I'm telling you is you can get 5% of the way there. That's it. That if you give, there's this stupid fucking quote. I don't know if it's from or if it's about like fucking Einstein or Oppenheimer. There's some retarded fucking quote by an apolitical retard who's like, they gave the U.S. Constitution to Oppenheimer and he looked at it and in only 5 minutes he was able to find 20 flaws that shows you how to take over the whole fucking government, right? Because finance and science people think they're the smartest people on the planet. But anybody that knows anything about politics would say, anybody that knows anything about politics would say, well, yeah, of course, that's every single constitution ever. There is no rule of laws that can govern human behavior perfectly. You can't encapsulate everything. This is why we have courts and everything else to determine if somebody's even broken a law, right? So we cannot reform our way out of the issue of people who are operating in an openly lawless manner. You can't do that.
Hold on. Number one, I just don't agree with you. This is the basis for the foundation of common law. We've been patching common law for 2,000 years. So saying you can't patch, you're right in the spirit that you cannot patch your way out of human evil or crime. But to pretend that like patching law over time isn't like a worthwhile civilizational endeavor, I think is misplaced.
I didn't say it's not worthwhile. I can't. We just fundamentally disagree. Are we just, there are disagreements? I'll figure out.
No, I don't even think we disagree on that.
No, we do, because you're not understanding me. Because you're saying things like,
what you're saying is you can't patch your way out of this problem.
You can't patch your way. Nothing. There was not a single anything that I said that implied me not wanting to change laws or update laws. Nothing that I said even remotely implied that.
Said that.
Then why are you talking to me about common law and that we've updated laws or whatever over time? What does that have to do with anything that I just said?
You just said, hold on, I'll repeat it back to you and you can tell me how I understood you incorrectly. You just said that if an opponent is not even interested in abiding by the laws, it doesn't matter how many patches you put into the legal system.
Correct.
Okay. So what I'm saying is law is not just paper, right? Law is also men with guns or weapons in the case of ancient Rome.
Well, sure, but in this particular case, the issue why we're having this conversation and the issue why this is so fucked up is because the guy with the gun is the guy breaking the laws. Remember, we used to call this a constitutional crisis. Nobody uses that phrase anymore because it's so obviously fucked at this point. Day. But the issue is that Donald Trump is the executive.
You a gun.
No, you can't. He's the executive. There's no way to check them in that manner if they decide that they don't want to play by the rules.
Okay, hold on. Slow down a little bit. Let's say that the Democrats win a substantive majority in the House. Let's say they win a slim minority in the Senate, or they have 2 or 3 Republican defectors, and they have the presidency. If they nuke the filibuster, let's say it's 28. Mm-hmm. I helped this happen in my limited scope of the internet. This has happened. Have I not just given the Democratic Party a loaded fucking gun in the capacity to rewrite the law for its future enforcement?
Yeah, but they'll just find new loopholes or find new holes.
Then I mean, we already went over the patches that Loanerbox mentioned, and you did, I don't want to say admit, but you did say that this would be likely to deter future negative behavior along these same lines.
Yes, but it will deter the methods that they used, but the outcomes can still be effected using other creative interpretations of the law.
I also already told you that this is why people like me, conservatarians, libertarians, Republicans of good faith, need to look at the implosion of MAGA as an opportunity to get the Republican Party to be a party that once again cares about the rule of law. It's literally in the fucking name.
That's fine, but you'll just lose. No, you're never going to win any of those contests because while you guys are running whatever game you're trying to run, the Republicans are going to be having mainstream media outlets lying on behalf of the candidates they are trying to run for office while they're promising crony favors to friends and everything else. It's not strictly illegal. Yeah.
Hold on.
Holding
on. Let's talk as creative peers real quick, okay?
Okay.
So you just said you'll lose.
Yes.
Not even worth it. Don't even do it. Waste of time. Waste of energy.
I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm just saying that you're running a different game. The game that they're playing, you cannot win playing by a set of rules when they're going to be trying to break the rules constantly. You can't win that way.
It's like Ender's Game.
I don't even know if we're talking about the same game. So can I articulate this real quick?
Yep.
So I got two options. My friend Steven, the multimillionaire creator, has said, give up, it's gay. Okay?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And I am currently, through Warhammer 40K and political live streaming, despite having a very small audience, I am making enough money to pay my bills, and I think I'm going to grow over time. And then not just that, I'm thinking about copying the Pondering Politics model of posting 3 10 to 20 minute videos a day from a conservatarian anti-Trump lens, ranting about current events. And there are people who have followed this business model, and it's been incredibly lucrative. So I have two options in front of me. Go with that model, continue to do political advocacy from my perspective, continue to do Warhammer 40K to support myself, copy Pondering Politics' model, but apply it to a conservatarian lens, and try to gain money, clout, and influence within the center-right to the point that I am a voice that the center-right listens to. The other option is waving my hands and going, well, the Republican Party is gay and cringe anyways, so let's just give up.
Mm-hmm.
Which option is my friend Steven advising me to do?
Just to give up. I guess that's okay.
You pussy bitch. When you were StarCraft 2 streamer and people were like, "You're never gonna make it, you fucking loser. You only got fucking 50 viewers." Did you take that advice?
I was
When
being
you made your
sarcastic,
transition
by the way,
to
when I said
politics
that.
and you lost 30 to 40% of your audience, did you take that advice?
No, I don't. Those aren't the only two options I'm giving you.
Well, I mean, okay, so give me the other option. What's the other option?
You have to make sure that both sides are playing with the same rule set.
I'm literally saying I want to create a zone of right-wing politics where you're playing the games of the Republic properly.
You can't
So
create
if everybody's
your own
view-botting, should he
zone.
view-bot?
Well, that's
What?
I mean that's one perspective that a lot of people
No,
take.
that's what I'm saying, yeah.
If
What'd
I
you
was
say?
a new streamer, I don't know. I said that you can't dictate your own zone. You're participating in the United States of America. You can't make like a mini country with its own rules to run your political games in.
You think... Wait, hold on. You think that applies to Nick?
Who? What?
Fuentes.
Yeah, I think it applies to him. Yeah, he has to play by the same rule set. What do you mean?
No, he... arguably, I would say that... I mean, let's be real. Social media incentivizes extreme opinions. But he, relatively speaking, created a niche of political thought that was not acceptable in the common zeitgeist.
Okay. Yeah.
So you're saying that it's not possible to create a niche within the political zeitgeist?
Not while one side is playing by a completely different set of rules. I don't know where that guy is.
Since when is this a binary? We're a country of 330 million people, and each binary side of politics is made up of multiple caucuses.
Okay, I'm not 100% sure what you're...
What I'm implying is that there's a shitload of different kinds of Republicans. They're not a monolith or a binary.
I understand that, but I think we're...
And also, my version of politics was popular 20 years ago.
Yeah, and it's changed. It's gone in a different direction. That version of politics died. It's not competitive anymore. There are new rules now for how the populace...
If it died, why are we bombing Iran right now?
What?
Probably because my version of politics
Do I need to explain...
secretly pulls some strings in the background.
Do you understand
Because
how...
they actually have a shitload of power brokers.
Not at all related.
Because a shitload of powerful, wealthy people
It's not even
still
remotely
believe in those
related to
politics.
what we're talking about. The version
What this is related to is we were talking about having influence on future politics, and you said just give up, and then I started pressing you on that.
I didn't say just give up. I said that I sarcastically agreed with you because that's not my advice.
Okay, so what's your advice?
You have to get the other side to be willing to come back to play in the same rule set. And if you can't,
That's what I want to do.
But you can't do that by playing within the old rule set that they're no longer constrained by, right?
Okay, so hold on. Let's make this not hypothetical. So, Nick Fuentes, the dissident right wing or whatever.
I don't know why we're bringing up Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes is not right now a politically relevant political figure. There are no gripers that are
Tucker
congressmen.
Carlson, MAGA.
Tucker Carlson
who do you
is
want
not
to be relevant.
People that are in office. So MAGA, Trump cabinet members, currently elected people.
Okay, Stephen Miller.
Sure. Yes, that is a yes.
Okay. So Stephen Miller is currently violating the Fourth Amendment rights of Hispanic people and seems to enjoy doing so. Correct?
Sure. Yeah.
Is that the evil that he's engaged in that we would like to stop?
No.
What's the evil that he's engaged in that you want to stop?
In this case, the evil is the process and the procedure, the way by which they are and I shouldn't say process and procedure. It's the way that they are able to message and influence people to do things, and the way that they enact that power once they're in power. So like the weird top-down control that they have of their entire media environment that involves literally cooperation between the administration and all of their friends in the media, all the way to the lawlessness that they have in Congress. Now, morally, I would be opposed to the idea of racial profiling or whatever, but like if they passed a law in Congress to do this, then my fighting ground would be to get new laws passed, not that they're like an existential threat to the United States or whatever.
I don't even know if I'm asking a question anymore. I'm going to make a statement. I think that the silent there are plenty of Republicans who are silent and who didn't stand up to Trump, didn't talk shit, didn't do anything like that because they don't like the drama, and they basically they were focused on working their jobs, taking care of their families, taking care of their communities, and that's about it. And they pretty much ignored everything else. Okay. And they made they heard contrarian right-wing excuses for why they should vote for Trump and how the left wing was worse. But I think that anybody who pays attention to politics, who doesn't realize that Trump was a uniquely bad, retarded piece of shit who fucked up so much stuff that even he believes in, it's laughable. And I think that the Epstein files and the sweeping for the Epstein files is so fucking bad that even a shitload of Trump cultists are starting to cannibalize the Trump administration. So I think that it is a perfect time as a Republican who was silent and I wasn't silent, but let's say that you were a Republican that was silent, was to come out of the woodwork and say, hey, I was never really a fan of this guy. He's kind of a piece of shit. He kind of fucked everything up. And I don't really like Andrew Tate, Nicholas Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, and name an alt media, Tim Pool. I don't like these motherfuckers representing me because they're clearly hypocritical, lying, disingenuous sacks of shit, and we need something better. And then trying to build that something better. What's the problem with that?
Nothing. I think you should always.
How is that not advantageous to the country?
It can be. Okay. We're at a fundamental impasse. We're screaming.
What's the impasse? What's the disagreement?
If I articulate it again, you're just going to repeat the same thing that you just did. We've looped on this like 12 times.
I think we looped on it probably 3 times, but repeat it one more time.
My argument is that your version of trying to do things like this will never win against the other side, who's decided that it's okay to lie, cheat, and steal in whatever way possible, using as many levers of power as possible in order to enact their policies and to get their people in office. You will never, ever, ever win against that, no matter what your message is, or no matter how noble or moral you are while you're signaling it. That's my point. Because you'll never be willing to go as far as they're willing to go outside of the system of norms in order to effect their change and to attack their opposition. That was the whole point of our conversation. By moving, it was
the whole point of the conversation.
By moving outside of like the system of norms to punish that behavior, to demonstrate that if you're not going to be a cooperative partner in democracy, then the other side won't be a cooperative partner in democracy. So everything's going to go to shit, and you're not going to have. There's nothing to be gained from doing that. So everybody should just play by the rules.
Okay. I'm gonna stick with my hacking metaphor. I'm Gucci.
Okay.
I'm tired.
Good.
What else? What else?
I don't know. It's your time. You're in here. What else?
No, I mean that's what I got. I talked to you about Epstein being an Intel asset. I talked to you about national identity and continuous cultures. I talked to you about blackpilling and Fed posting in reference to 26 and 28. I don't think I moved you, but I also don't think I expected to. So I said everything that I wanted to say.
Okay. Well, I love you. Stay safe.
I just wanted to spar. I just wanted to fight with my autistic internet political friends.
Good. I'm glad. Me too.
Okay. All right. Well, I parasocially love you guys. I'll see you later. I hope you have a beautiful day.
Yeah.
You too.
Bye.
Bye now.
Did you have fun?
I like Connor. Yeah, he seems nice.
Me.
Yeah, he's got a bit of the problem that I have of like sometimes when you're listening to Pisco, he says like a lot of things, and then you have to like parse through it. I think he's got a little bit of that problem, but it's a lot easier to understand him than Pisco.
Oh, you really think so? I don't feel like sometimes you maybe will repeat a little bit, but I don't think it's anywhere remotely like
it's not remotely near, but I still have hard time following sometimes his logic, I guess. But maybe that's because I'm retarded.
Maybe.